water. What we have here, these huge dunes in Port Aransas, and these are phenomenal. Where I'm from on the Maryland-Delaware coast, if we had dunes this high, very protective, a strong protective measure from the force of the Gulf and tropical systems. But the water does come right up here in these walkways up to the buildings, right up to the base of the steps to the Port Aransas Beach Lodge. And then it goes right back out. So we're going to lose some sand. You can see we've seen some of the erosion on some of the bottom of the dune, but by far these dunes are going to be fine. The other story is the rainfall. Right now we've had about 4/10 of an inch of rain at nearby Mustang Airport. Peak gust, I last checked, 37 miles an hour. Now on the radar you can see the rain bands wrapping around the center. These are more the outer rain bands hitting the coastal bend. This area, Corpus, down towards the Baffin Bay area. It's the bands right around the center of Hanna. As it comes onshore to our south, it's moving west. We'll get into some of those northwest bands. And then we have the issue of potential quick spin-ups, because that's the right front quadrant. Always a concern when we have a landfalling tropical system that we could have some brief tornadoes. We had one warning earlier, well north and west and inland, but now we're just going to wait and see if the Storm Prediction Center puts out a tornado watch. So here it is, the first hurricane of the season, Hanna, coming on shore this afternoon. Winds right now of 75 miles an hour. We'll see if it strengthens another little bit before it makes landfall. And then the inland impacts, flash flood watches up for this whole area through tomorrow. The heaviest rain by far will be in South Texas, where we could get up to a foot of rain, and there could be some significant flooding in those areas, including Brownsville, McAllen, and Harlingen. Dr. Postel back in the studio. Dr. Postel, first hurricane of the season. Not only this, we've got Gonzalo, we've got Douglas heading towards the islands of Hawaii, and we're also watching 92L, which the Hurricane Center now, I believe, has a 60% chance of developing. So all of a sudden, we've kind of just turned everything on in the tropics, and this, our first significant impact of the season.
Mike, it does seem like the window is open for tropical opportunity across the this part of the world, and we've got one hurricane closing in on the Texas Gulf Coast. If you're just tuning in, 75-mile-per-hour Hurricane Hanna, Category 1 on the Saffir-Simpson scale, the wind speed, 982 on the pressure, moving west at 8 miles per hour, about 80 miles off the coast. That brings it in about 10 hours or so, perhaps 5 or 6 o'clock Eastern time. And that will bring with it, of course, significant wind, rain, and surge, all the typical threats that we deal with landfalling tropical cyclones. Here's what it looks like on the bigger picture. And it is a fairly well-defined structure on the radar. And the strongest of all the winds, of course, have not yet reached the coast. We're seeing wind gusts of 44 miles per hour, Corpus Christi Naval Air Station there. Just to the south of there, I think, is where the strongest winds will be. And right now, they are offshore in this ring called the eye wall, surrounding the eye, which is right about there. So the wind gusts of over 75 miles per hour are still several hours away. Likely not coming in until much later on in the afternoon. But those kinds of winds can do damage and need to be taken very seriously. You'll be wanting to take shelter inside in an interior room, away from windows with as many walls between you and the outside. Treat it like a tornado warning when the eye wall comes in and those strongest of all the winds come in and do some damage. Right now you can see all the way from Rockport through areas Corpus Christi, Falfurrias. Now once you get inland, the winds dramatically go down, but still very heavy rain, and the core of Hanna is really getting much closer, and we'll see the weather conditions get a lot worse in just the next few hours in South Texas. Farther to the north, we're still not scot-free from the impacts. I mean, if you look at some of these rain bands coming in, they will have gusty winds in excess of 30 miles per hour, and as Mike Seidel was mentioning, some of these outer rain bands today could produce tornadoes. We already had one tornado warning for Fort Bend and Wharton counties in Texas. That was about an hour and a half ago. Expect more tornado warnings later on today. Even farther east from there, southern Louisiana and areas in the Mississippi and Alabama Gulf Coast, on the outer edges of Hanna, we're seeing some rain bands move in with some gusty winds as well. So it's a very large circulation overall, with really the core of it concentrated right in this zone.
No,
Overall, when you look at sort of the satellite picture, it says to me that there's not a lot of room here to get a lot stronger than it is now. I think we could maybe see a little bit increase in intensity, but not a lot. There's not a lot of room here in space and time. And overall in the cloud presentation, a lot of the thunderstorms that we're seeing here have relatively short sort of pulsing lifetimes. That's not that unusual, but says to me that maybe it's not quite there yet to strengthen very quickly. That's a good thing. We don't want to see that. But regardless, we have a hurricane that will be making landfall later on today, perhaps, for example, the center of circulation coming on board in Kennedy County, Texas. But the impacts spread far and wide, not just northward across parts of Texas, but also into Mexico, south of the Rio Grande. We will see some very heavy rain and also some gusty winds, depending on where the core of the circulation or the remnants of it move later on this afternoon, tonight, and even into tomorrow morning. We will still be dealing with the impacts from the inland remnants of Hanna tomorrow morning. So this is a very significant storm that is continuing to move on its merry way. Now I think just slightly south of due west. That is the motion right now, with very heavy rainfall on the way. And you can see that we are expecting some places, especially near and around Brownsville, Texas, could get as much as a foot of rain. And last but not least, the water rise is above normally dry ground, very significant in some places, including Victoria and Corpus Christi. That would be 3 to 5 feet. Right now, I'm going to send it over to Jen, who is in Studio 9. How about that? Jennifer Lopez.
All right, good. Thanks so much, Greg. And again, we're going to look a little bit closer at what impacts we're expecting here along the coast. Now, here we are right along the coast of Texas. We're actually looking south of the Houston-Galveston area. You get around Port O'Connor and the Matagorda Bay, and that is where we're watching out for storm surge. And then you get to the Aranza Bay right there, Rockport, also expecting storm surge. Once you go farther south, you hit this very long barrier island. That is Padre Island, a beautiful national seashore that is going to be expecting to see heavy rainfall and also the threat of storm surge. So storm surge warnings are posted for those areas right along the coast. And as we look at right now, the higher amount of storm surge, right here at the pier in South Padre Island, I believe the pier is closed, as well as all the beaches there. We are seeing a storm surge right now of almost 4 feet. So again, not the best of fishing weather, and certainly not the best to go out there and look at this or even think about getting out there in the high surf, because the storm surge is only going to stay pretty threatening throughout the day. And again, right through those bays that we were just mentioning, anywhere from, again, Port O'Connor to Rockport to Corpus Christi, that storm surge is expected to be 3 to 5 feet. We're also again concerned about the flooding, and it's not just these counties that are right along the coast. We always talk about inland flooding. Well, notice back here towards Victoria, you're back into the city of Corpus Christi and actually west on 37. Those areas are underneath a flash flood watch. And then the concern continues for the Rio Grande Valley. Anywhere from Brownsville all the way up to Laredo is underneath a flash flood watch. Because as that rain comes in, it's going to be extremely high in a few locations, especially on the southern tip in deep South Texas. That's where we're going to be seeing maybe 5 to 8 inches of rain, or even up to a foot of rain in a few locations. So Brownsville to McAllen, as well as again up into Laredo. These are going to be those areas right along the Mexican border that could get some high significant rainfall from this. So anywhere from 35 down these interstates to Brownsville, I think that's 69E. That is where we're concerned with some high amounts of rain. As far as the wind from this, we are certainly watching some gusty winds here in Galveston, which is well away from the center of circulation. We're finding those strong wind gusts as well. And keep in mind, if you're at the beaches in Galveston, make sure that you're aware that rip currents are going to be a high concern anywhere across the Texas coast. So again, if you don't want to go out there and you're not a strong swimmer, we advise you not to, and especially make sure that you're swimming at beaches that have lifeguards at them, because they know those waters, those beaches a lot better than you do. Here's a look at the wind as we go through the day, and what we're going to notice as that center of circulation gets closer in. the winds are going to stay or get even stronger. At 2 o'clock this afternoon in Corpus Christi, those wind speeds could be up to 60 miles an hour. And again, down towards Brownsville, 35 to 40 miles an hour. So again, let's recap everything that we know so far about Hurricane Hanna. Nueces County beaches are closed to pedestrians and vehicles. You can't go fishing, you can't go out there and swim, you can't even go out there and watch it. We want you to stay safe at home. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has placed numerous resources on standby across the state ahead of Hanna. And the Corpus Christi Regional Transit Authority has canceled all transportation services for today. Well, we have another system out there, and it's another hurricane. Let's go back to Greg Postel for more on Hurricane Douglas.
Jen, thank you very much. You know, hurricane season is surging forward, and we do have another hurricane that may be closing in on the United States. This would be Hurricane Douglas, not far away from Hawaii, and there may be a landfall coming in the next 48 hours. 110-mile-per-hour Category 2 hurricane. Yeah, believe it or not, we're talking on the Pacific side, so everybody is in on the action. This is what it looks like on the satellite pictures. Hurricane Douglas right now. I do like what I see when I see these recent trends in the satellite pictures. It tells me that the thunderstorms are not as strong now as they were, let's say, a day or two ago. So it is on a weakening trend, but no less moving in that direction. So the Big Island, some of the other islands are likely to see some significant impacts from Douglas as it continues to steadily close in on the island chain. And this is going to be bringing some significant weather along the way. Moving over the islands this weekend, more likely tomorrow and later tomorrow evening, where we do have hurricane watches up for many of the islands, and the exact track is actually going to be kind of critical. It already does look like it's coming in from the east. That is a good thing, because typically when hurricanes or tropical systems come in from the east, they're moving over cooler water, giving them an opportunity to weaken along the way. Had this system instead moved along a path like that and come in from the south, well, that would have been a lot more trouble, because the water is much warmer along a trajectory like that. If you can see that the official forecast from the Hurricane Center has Douglas weakening from now all the way through this period, likely moving through maybe the islands, maybe the Big Island as a hurricane, and then weakening even though it moves westward from there. So there is some silver lining in this, although it will bring some significant impacts. It is likely to weaken as it continues moving over cooler and cooler waters, less rain, less thunderstorms, less water rises, less flooding potential. All the hazards seem to be a bit less of a risk as we go forward in time. Watch the wind forecast here. This is going to be very interesting, because the models do suggest that perhaps the core of the strongest winds remains north of the Hawaiian island chain, and that's going to be really good news there. And this is just yet another system that we have to watch over the next, say, 24 to 48 hours, with perhaps another landfall to deal with. Right now, I'm going to send it over to Paul Goodloe, who is now live right now in Corpus Christi, Texas, with the latest. Paul, tell us what you got.
Good morning, Greg. We're dealing with the first hurricane Atlantic season going to make landfall pretty close to here as we head into this afternoon. Behind me, a very agitated Gulf of Mexico. In fact, we're looking at a lifeguard stand that's now kind of floating along with the longshore drift come left to right there on your screen there because of all the wave action. Already checking some of the tide charts and wave charts. We're talking water already between 3 to 5 feet higher than it normally would be. And we're approaching high tide. High tide's coming up at about 8:10 local time, and low tide should be closer to the potential landfall point, talking about 2:30 or so in the afternoon. So as the tide is going out, the brunt of Hurricane Hanna should be approaching the Texas Gulf Coast, so that should be good news. We do expect a storm surge right now between 3 to 5 feet, and some low-lying areas definitely will see some inundation, especially into Corpus Christi, even the North Beach area, notorious for flooding with storms. They will most likely see some high water there as well. But the other concern is what happens when the tide starts coming back up. Again, we'll have live all-day coverage of our first landfalling hurricane of the 2020 season right here on the Weather Channel.
Hey, I didn't order any pizza.
Jake from State Farm. After you saved me so much dough on insurance with that Parker promo, I devised a promo for you.
Here's the deal, Parker. State Farm offers everyone surprisingly great rates.
Yeah, right. Pepperoni pockets, an atomic brownie, cuckoo crusties.
There's no promo, it's just great rates.
And a cider ranch. You're the man, man.
When you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Introducing the Power XL Smokeless Grill, the only indoor grill with smoke extracting technology. Watch again as it sucks up that smoke and odor like a vacuum. It's been voted the #1 brand in indoor grills, and the 5-star reviews say it all. People love the Power Smokeless Grill. You can grill juicy porterhouse, amazing surf and turf, barbecue back ribs. What's the secret? The heat source reaching 450 degrees Fahrenheit connects to the grill plate, so all that fat can drip through the grates into the drip tray below. This is the healthy way to cook, and that fat drains away through the open grill, just like an outdoor barbecue. The Turbo Speed Smoke Extractor technology captures and extracts virtually all the smoke. This means now you can have an open grill right in your kitchen. One press and it instantly starts heating. The heavy-duty cast aluminum grill plate is engineered with the most advanced non-stick technology available. Even torched-on cheese is no problem for this grill. It's small enough for an apartment, but big enough to feed a hungry family. That's because the entire footprint is edge-to-edge grilling surface. Now you can try the Power XL Smokeless Grill in your home for 30 days for only $14.99. And you'll also get our non-stick griddle plate, a $30 value. Instantly turn your grill into an electric skillet. And our stainless and tempered glass lid, a $20 value, perfect for infusing your food as you grill. Now you'll also get Power XL's exclusive new recipe book, filled with copycat recipes from America's favorite restaurants. It's full of secret recipes to create your version of Outback's filet mignon and perfectly grilled salmon, Applebee's double glazed baby back ribs, El Pollo Loco's chicken dinner, and Shake Shack's Shack Burger. And your satisfaction is guaranteed. This is your limited time opportunity to try the Power XL Smokeless Grill for 30 days for the incredible price of only $14.99. And ask your operator how you can get free shipping. This offer is not available in stores and won't last. So call or go to PowerXLSmokelessGrill.com to get yours.
When was the last time you really looked out the window? What do you see? The awakening of the rising sun, or light dancing across the mountaintops? Look for a moment longer and you'll see beauties all around us. Like a painting, moving in the wind, speaking to the soul. The world flashing past, still yet to explore. Look out the window. The summer.
A culture, a mindset, and a new point of view. Babbel, language for life. Go to Babbel.com and try it for free today.
Whoever said our planet had to explain itself? Explore the strange phenomena of our weird Earth. Sunday nights on the Weather Channel.
A tropical storm warning is in effect. Currently in our area, 83 degrees under fair skies. Today, windy with thunderstorms, high 86. Chance of rain, 80%. Tonight, tropical storm conditions likely. Windy with showers and thunderstorms, low 76. Sunday, windy with heavy thunderstorms, high 82. Here's our
Welcome back to Weekend Recharge, and we are tracking Hurricane Hanna, the first hurricane of the Atlantic hurricane season, approaching the Texas Gulf Coast. South Padre Island, Texas, the upper left of your screen, Galveston, upper right, Port Aransas in the lower right, and even Corpus Christi on the bottom left there. You can see the push of the Gulf of Mexico waters already up on most of the beaches here, even into some of the dunes. So it's something we're watching closely as we're expecting a storm surge at 3 to 5 feet. And yes, the forecast constantly change in terms of the intensity, and this area of the Gulf of Mexico notorious for rapidly strengthening storms and hurricanes before they make landfall. That is what's happening right now to Hurricane Hanna. Many people even shocked that we have a name system, let alone a hurricane that really has gone from a TD to a hurricane in really, what, just 36 hours or so. So a big concern here as we're waiting for landfall to come to the area. As we head north along the North Padre Island into Port Aransas, we also have team coverage. Mike Seidel is in Port Aransas this morning, also dealing with this. And Mike, the last time we had a hurricane make landfall in this part of the Texas coast was just over almost 3 years ago. That was Hurricane Harvey, kind of making landfall between you and me and Mustang Island.
Yeah, that was just north of here, Paul. Right now, we're nowhere near a concern like we had with Harvey. However, the water has overtaken the beach here. This is a very low beach. It's flat, so when the water comes up a foot, it can cover up the whole beach, and it rolls right in through these walkways, which are between these huge dunes here at the beach lodge and up and down Port Aransas. So the tide was high about 40 minutes ago, 35, 40 minutes ago. It's going to try to go out against the force, the push from Hanna, Hurricane Hanna going into our south. We've had some heavier downpours so far at the airport just around the corner, Mustang Island Airport. We've had about 0.4 of an inch of rain. Peak wind gusts so far 37 miles an hour. You can see plainly on the radar. It's been sporadic rain wrapping around, but off the coast, easily, you can see the center of Hurricane Hanna, our first hurricane of the season, upgraded at 8 a.m. Eastern by the Hurricane Center. As that center goes inland later today through the afternoon, we're going to get some of that northwest and western edge. And those are the bands which could give us wind gusts here 50 or 60 miles an hour. Also could spin up a tornado or two. That's another concern, that severe weather threat. The real flash flood threat, the highest threat by far, the highest risk from the Weather Prediction Center is in South Texas. That's Brownsville, McAllen, Harlingen, maybe Laredo, Kingsville, those areas south of Corpus Christi, where we could get some double-digit rainfall totals. Up here, we're expecting 3 to 5. We'll see if that materializes. We still have a way to go. And even once the hurricane goes inland, hooks a left, and weakens tonight and tomorrow into Old Mexico, Monterey, look out there, those mountains and heavy rain, mudslides, hopefully no loss of life. Let's hope so. Once it does that, we're still going to have an onshore flow, so still a very good chance of some more rain and thunder tomorrow as the winds calm down and will gust tomorrow maybe 20, 25 miles an hour. The waves breaking way out there and then rolling across this level beach. Here comes another push of water up between the dunes. Water temperature is 86 degrees. It feels more like soup around my ankles this morning. Let's go back to the Weather Channel. Dr. Greg Postel. We're dealing with Hanna right now, but we've got the system in the Caribbean. We've got the hurricane heading towards Hawaii. And I think of real interest, personally, is 92L. That's pretty feisty for this early in the season. And I know you've got a rundown on all of those right now, including Gonzalo.
Yeah, let's have a look at Gonzalo. Mike, thank you very much for your reporting. Right now, Mike has a wind that is more of a north wind, sort of parallel to the coast. It's going to get a lot worse where he is when the wind becomes more onshore later on this morning and the early afternoon hours. So stay safe out there. Everyone else as well. Tropical storm Gonzalo. This is, another one out there, closing in on parts of the Lesser Antilles, in fact, getting very close to Venezuela and South America. It is less impressive. It is on a weakening trend. It looked much healthier days ago, but as it's moved westward, it has encountered some very hostile conditions atmospherically and otherwise, and that is why in the forecast, you don't see this cone extending out past tomorrow evening. this thing is likely to dissipate, completely devolve, either into an open wave or to nothing at all, really, an area sort of just a swirling massive cloud with not much there. That's good news. So Gonzalo is seeing its demise in front of it. And you can see on the pictures, it doesn't look like much anymore. What was once sort of a very small, coherent ball of thunderstorms is kind of elongated and stretched out and still bringing some, unkind weather to perhaps parts of the southern Windward Islands and Trinidad and Tobago. But really, overall, nothing that is unmanageable, not much different than, let's say, a tropical wave moving through, which happens every several days. Look at the atmosphere around it. I mean, really, the weather conditions are very dry. That has been one of the reasons why Gonzalo has really not made it any further than it is now. And this is what's forecast going forward. You can see we track it along parts of the southern Caribbean, and that will very likely be the end of Gonzalo. But as Mike was mentioning, there's another one out there, and I'm going to get to it right here. I've got to show it to you real quick. There's a fairly substantial tropical wave out here that may indeed evolve into a depression or a named storm in the next 5 days. We'll have much more coming up. Live coverage.
I know people love the dish remote. It's great. So why build in the Google Assistant? I mean, who really needs a TV remote that can turn the thermostat up,
Change temperature to 72.
the lights down,
Dim the lights.
and still access their DVR?
Play Rio.
Actually, some people could absolutely use a remote like that.
The new Dish Voice Remote. Dish, tuned in to you. All your Cracker Barrel favorites, like our crispy southern fried chicken, our scratch-made buttermilk pancakes, and our signature chicken and dumplings, can be enjoyed in our home or yours. Dine in or get curbside or delivery at crackerbarrel.com.
3 facts. 1, crude oil is crude. 2, natural gas is pure. 3, Pennzoil is made from natural gas. It gives you unbeatable engine protection. The proof is in the Pennzoil.
Kids can change minds. They can even change the world around us. Packed with protein plus 21 vitamins and minerals, we nourish them with Carnation Breakfast Essentials. Because today could change everything.
We know to wash our hands. Here's a reminder from Cetaphil to wash your face, too. Dermatologist recommended Cetaphil washes away germs in 20 seconds and leaves skin moisturized and healthy. Show your sensitive skin some love with Cetaphil.
Jack was one of 6 million pets in animal shelters in need of a home. He found it in a boy with special needs who also needed him. As part of our love promise, Subaru and our retailers host adoption events and have donated $28 million to support local animal shelters. We're proud to have helped over 230,000 pets so far, changing the lives of dogs like Jack and the families who adopt them. Subaru, more than a car company.
New Lean Cuisine Bowls with 20% more food for 20% more satisfaction. They're nutritious and delicious. New Lean Cuisine Bowls. Delicious your way.
Geico's been helping people save money for over 75 years. They've really stood the test of time, much like these majestic Rocky Mountains, which must be named after the Rocky...
That would be Rocky the Flying Squirrel, Mr. Gecko, sir. Obviously.
Come on, Bullwinkle. They're named after...
First President George Rockington.
That doesn't even make any sense, Mr. Winkle.
Geico, over 75 years of savings and service.
Ever wonder where the capital A in Chick-fil-A came from? It started with grade A, top quality chicken. But we believed everything, not just the food, should be grade A.
A is for above and beyond.
An extra level of care.
A game.
From caring for our guests and our community to cleanliness and safe service with a My Pleasure. A is for all the little things we do to bring you our best every day.
A little funky dance.
And that too.
Target's same-day delivery. Contactless delivery right to your door, designed for your day, so you can work out. Join in. And game on. Just download the Target app and try it today.
Welcome back to Weekend Recharge. I'm meteorologist Paul Goodell live in North Padre Island here in the Corpus Christi area on the Texas Gulf Coast here. And our first hurricane of the season is approaching the Texas coast. And look what it's doing already to the beach here. We were here yesterday, the last 2 days. You see a lifeguard stand there being knocked over, kind of pushed around by the surf. Tide is coming in. It should be coming in over the next 40 minutes or so. And the water now, the waves pushing up to this kind of mound of sand that the Public Works have kind of created to protect the water to going a little farther across. Now, this is normally a road here, which is now covered with sand and debris. You can see the stop sign there. That's a parking lot for people to enjoy the beach. The beach closed yesterday at noon. We're open again until Monday morning. You can see the overwash. You can't even see the asphalt there. And look how angry the Gulf of Mexico is. You can see the waves crashing all the way out to the end of the Bob Hall Pier. So that's at least a quarter mile out there. And the waves easily 5 to 8+ feet. We don't see any surfers out there like we have been seeing the last couple of days, but we do expect a decent storm surge of 3 to 5 feet. There's a pretty good dune system here across this island, which is protecting a lot of this island, but there are some cut-throughs for roads and what have you. And this was not a dune. This is a man-made dune where they kind of bulldozed the sand up that I'm standing on right now. But even that is going to be, going to be beaten down over the next several hours, if not a whole day, of the angry Gulf lashing here as we have landfall of Hurricane Hanna, our first hurricane of the season. We have team coverage covering this. Let's bring in Mike Seidel. He's a little farther north of me in Port Aransas, Texas. And Mike, one big thing kind of helping Hanna to strengthen is the water temperatures. The water temperatures there about by Port Aransas this week have been like at times 89 degrees. I mean, that's like bath water temperature.
Yes, I like to describe it as soup out here coming around my ankles. High tide was about an hour ago, and the water continues to roll in because we got that push from Hanna as it makes landfall later today to our south. There's the surf. See the windsurfer out there? He's trying to get up today. He's about the only person I can see, as far as I can see here on the barrier island. Wait a minute, do I see a vehicle? Oh, no, that's another trash can. The trash cans have come kind of unhooked from their position, so we've got some trash floating around. But he's out here. He's trying to get up in the in this wind. It's north-northeast. And by the way, we just had our first tropical storm force wind gusts, 34 knots, 39 miles an hour. We're going to do better than that by far when we get those bands that are around the center. Look at the radar right now. We're in a bit of a band right now, but again, the rain comes and goes. We haven't had those bands where it's just blinding rain and it's just pelting you and we're gusting 50+. We haven't had any of those yet, but those are expected later on today. So the surf is up. Low tide comes in at 2:30 this afternoon, and that will help us a little bit on that storm surge warning for this part of the coast, along with a hurricane warning. Our first hurricane of the season. In-depth analysis now. Dr. Greg Postel back in Atlanta. And Dr. Postel, it was a sneaky thing. It just kind of ramped up overnight. But I have to say the European model pretty much nailed it again. Once again, a W for the E.
Well, yeah, there was some other guidance out there that also suggested, Mike, that this had an opportunity to strengthen as it closed in on the coast, and it's doing just that a little bit. I don't think there's a whole lot of room to get much stronger than it is now, but a 75-mile-per-hour Category 1 with a lot of rain, some storm surge, and, of course, some wind damage all on the docket for later on this morning and this afternoon across the southern Texas Gulf Coast. It is moving steadily toward the west at about 8 miles per hour, so landfall later on this afternoon, 5-ish o'clock or so on its current pace. Now moving even maybe slightly south of due west. If you were to sort of just look at the more recent trends, it may be more like that coming in possibly to Kennedy County in Texas. Again, that may be a little wiggle. Not sure if it's a long-term movement, but we'll be watching that very carefully. Winds right now very manageable, but Corpus Christi Naval Air Station now gusting to 47, sustained 35. Not technically tropical storm force winds there, but very close. And the winds will get quite a bit stronger all across the region. Likely seeing hurricane force wind gusts, especially when the winds become more onshore, as the strongest winds very likely kind of in a corridor about like that, and even extending more distant from the center than there. So You know, watch out for those hurricane-force wind gusts, perhaps 70 to 80 miles per hour at the highest, I think. That would mean that you want to take shelter inside as the worst weather comes in, because that kind of wind can do damage, and you're going to want to make sure that you're away from windows as well. Treat it like a tornado warning when the eye wall comes in. We got some outer rain bands also moving across parts of North Texas. Last graphic I'm going to show you is the expected landfall later on this afternoon south of Corpus Christi, but Corpus get wind gusts well over 60 miles per hour perhaps, and this continues on into Mexico with very heavy rain there as well. And stay tuned for the Weather Channel throughout the day as we track Hanna. We'll be right back.
New lean cuisine bowls with 20% more food for 20% more satisfaction. They're nutritious and delicious. New lean cuisine bowls. Delicious your way.
My patients, I often see them have teeth sensitivity as well as gum issues. Does it worry me? Absolutely. They are both very much hand in hand, so you should really be focusing on both, and definitely at the same time. The new Sensodyne sensitivity and gum gives us a dual action effect that really takes care of both our teeth sensitivity as well as our gum issues. By brushing with Sensodyne sensitivity and gum at home, it's giving you the relief that you need and the control that you need to take care of your oral health. And it creates a healthier environment. There's no question it's something that I would recommend.
Staying at home means being online more than ever. Use NordVPN to protect yourself from cyber threats. Get the app today and work from home safely. NordVPN, online security for your private and business life.
Looks like they picked the wrong getaway driver.
Gonna be paying for this for a long time.
They will, but with accident forgiveness. Allstate won't raise your rates just because of an accident, even if it's your fault.
Cut! Sonny.
Is that good?
Line. The desert never lies.
Isn't that what I said?
No, you were talking about Allstate and insurance. Let's try again. Everybody back to one.
Accident forgiveness from Allstate. Click or call for a quote today.
All your Cracker Barrel favorites, like our crispy Southern fried chicken, our scratch-made buttermilk pancakes, and our signature chicken and dumplings, can be enjoyed in our home or yours. Dine in or get curbside or delivery at crackerbarrel.com.
This summer, we've all got miles to make up. Miles to the job site, to the campsite, and anything else we set our sights on. Miles back to those who can make this summer mean more than ever. We can help you get the most out of those miles during the Ram Summer Clearance Event.
Right now, get 0% financing for 72 months on the 2020 Ram 1500. Go to ram.com to shop and buy today.
TracFone Wireless gives you more control. Just swap your SIM card. You can also keep your phone, keep your network, keep your number. 20 bucks a month, no contract. Don't keep that case, though. Oh. Available 24/7 at TracFone.com. TracFone Wireless.
I heard you the first time. I just wanted to hear it again.
Now available at Walmart.com. World-class rechargeable hearing aids for hundreds, not thousands of dollars, including our new app-controlled hearing aid that gives you full control of your sound environment. Try them in the comfort of your home for 60 days. Our full lineup available with free 2-day shipping now at Walmart.com.
Hearing Assist will change your life.
John Tyson's motto was, "When better chickens are hatched, we will hatch them." It's why all of the Tyson chicken that bears his name is raised with no antibiotics ever. Every nugget, strip, and drumstick. Keep it real. Keep it Tyson.
Fine. No one leaves the table till you're finished.
Fine. We'll sleep here.
It's the easiest because it's the cheesiest. Kraft for the win-win.
Welcome back to Weekend Recharge. I'm meteorologist Paul Gertler live at North Padre Island here in Corpus Christi, Texas. You can see what the Gulf of Mexico is doing, all because of our first hurricane of the season approaching the coast. We see these nice little huts that they have here on the beach. Some are being tossed around like blocks, kids' blocks here in this bathtub of the very angry and agitated Gulf of Mexico. This is normally a road here that provides beach access, which is covered by several inches, if not maybe a foot or more of sand. I went down there briefly between these big pushes of water and couldn't even get down to the asphalt here as I've been timing the little breaks in the high push of this water, like even right now, getting down here to see how deep this water is covering the road. Normally this is a road right here. You see a stop sign in the parking lot. There's a road somewhere underneath here. I can't even get down to it because there is so much heavy, wet sand here. So actually yesterday morning, they had a lot of road crews here pushing up and building this mound of sand to protect some of the county buildings here. But they have a great dune system because North Padre Island, all of Padre Island is a barrier island here. So normally high tide is coming up next half hour or so would be maybe 40 yards farther past me. Now the water's coming all the way up and several feet on this big pile of sand here. So we do expect a storm surge of somewhere 3 to 5 feet. Already seeing a water level rise here by the Bob Paul Pier of almost 3.5 feet right now. High tide's coming in. Low tide this afternoon around 2:30. That's when we do expect perhaps close to landfall, which is good news. Timing of the low tide and the big push of water. But there's another high tide coming up tonight, and Hanna's going to slow down. So storm surge is going to be a long duration thing. It might only be 3 to 5 feet, but 3 to 5 feet over perhaps 30 hours is a much bigger deal. Let's go back to the studio now with Dr. Bostell, who's keeping in track on other issues with a landfalling hurricane in this year of the coronavirus.
That's right, Paul. You know, one organization is bracing for landfall and its impact on local residents. The Salvation Army divisions along the Gulf Coast are making storm preparations. To share more about how the organization plans to tackle Hanna, all the rest, the Salvation Army's Texas Division Emergency Disaster Services Director joins us live via Skype from, from Dallas. This is Alvin McGeese. Thank you very much for joining us. And I have a couple of questions for you, Alvin. Has the Salvation Army put any special guidelines into place to keep volunteers and victims safe during this pandemic?
Absolutely. We've been working since we realized the pandemic was going to be an issue, and knowing full well that we had to be prepared for hurricanes in the season this year. We've developed task force that are looking at our feeding operations, our warehousing and distribution, our personnel requirements, and of course our case management, how we can do those things safely, not only for our volunteers and staff, but as well the survivors of any of the events. We've purchased additional hand washing stations, things that will help with our sanitation. So I feel like we've got a pretty good handle on things right now. We've developed some plans that we're implementing. Well, seems like a little early in the season this year, but we're ready to go.
Well, what is usually the biggest hurdle or the need during a natural disaster, let alone one we've got right now with all the other problems to go along with it?
Well, our corporate partners come alongside us very quickly to help out with supplies. But one of the challenges I think we're faced with now, particularly in the COVID environment, is getting the volunteers that we need. Although we have seen some very good responses all across the country as we're doing our COVID response. We've served close to 5 million meals just in the last 3 or 4 months across the nation. And we're hearing reports that a lot of volunteers that maybe we wouldn't have heard from before are stepping up now to try to help out. Of course, donations are also a big factor early on in an event, and we're asking anybody who would like to assist with that to go to www.helpsalvationarmy.org.
That is an incredible effort that you guys are putting forth. And if you can, real quickly, can you explain some measures that are in place to ensure that the volunteers and the staff don't get too stressed or fatigued while on the job?
Well, our personnel task force has taken a hard look at how we house volunteers, people that we have to bring in. We're certainly hoping to rely more on local volunteers in this environment. One of the things we're challenged with is having a space for folks to stay in. I mean, FEMA and Red Cross plans now are to put survivors into hotels. So we're going to be working with our local facilities to try to work out arrangements, and it may be that we're going to have to put fewer people in a gym than we normally would, but we'll open up additional facilities to make sure that folks are good.
Well, Alvin McGeese, Texas Division Salvation Army leader, thank you very much for joining us, and stay safe during this time of emergency. I'm going to send it over to Jen now in the studio.
All right, let's talk more about the tropics and go out into the Pacific, where we have our other hurricane that could be having impact across the United States. This would be for the Hawaiian Islands. Gonzales has 110-mile-an-hour winds. The forecast takes it very close to the Hawaiian Islands. going just to the north, if not passing through some of the westward islands. So again, this will really impact this area as we head into tomorrow. Tropical storm warnings are in place for the eastern islands, but we do have a hurricane watch farther to the west. Finally, now we're back over into the Atlantic. Here is the island of Trinidad and Tobago, and this is where we have Tropical Storm Gonzales with a lot of rain and a lot of wind coming in.
Experience the adventure of a bigger world in a highly capable Lexus SUV at the Golden Opportunity Sales Event.
Lease the 2020 NX300 for $339 a month for 36 months.
Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
There's nothing as unique as our eyes, which is why Essilor pioneers ways to make lenses as unique as you. Verilux for super sharp vision, Essential Blue for protection, and Crizal for freedom from glare. 3 cutting-edge solutions in a single unique lens. So whatever your needs, insist on Essilor. Visit your local Essilor experts and find the perfect lens for you. See more, do more, Essilor.
This is Firehouse Subs, where we're still making our hot, hearty, mouth-watering subs. Order online at firehousesubs.com or use the Firehouse Subs app. Your order will be boxed, bagged, and ready for pickup or delivery. This is Firehouse Subs.
All right, I brought in Ensure Max Protein to give you the protein you need with less of the sugar you don't. I'll take that.
30 grams of protein and 1 gram of sugar. Ensure Max Protein with nutrients to support immune health.
This summer, you've been home cooking up a storm, sharing your most irresistible recipes with the ones you love. So at King's Hawaiian, we wanted to share some of your irresistibly delicious ideas with the world. Like Christie's Greek Almighty Burger, or Lucy's Chili Dog Days of Summer, and of course, Trudy's Sweet Island Chicken Sliders. And if you want to share even more this summer, join us in No Kid Hungry in our fight against childhood hunger. Learn more at kingshawaiian.com. King's Hawaiian, what an irresistibly delicious idea.
A lung cancer diagnosis can leave you holding your breath. But Bristol-Myers Squibb is working to change things by researching new kinds of medicines that could help you live longer, including options that are chemo-free, because we're committed to bringing new hope into lung cancer care. Learn about our lung cancer research at lungcancerresearch.com.
3 facts. 1, crude oil is crude. 2,
available now with Spectrum On Demand. Irresistible from writer-director Jon Stewart.
Jack Hastings is like Bernie Sanders with better bone density.
Whatever you say, nerd.
Yeah.
You look fat.
It's Carell versus Byrd.
This is the DC elite trying to dictate how we should live.
That's a lie.
No.
Really? All you have is fear.
I do better with fear than you do with shame.
Irresistible. Available all month long with Spectrum On Demand.
My name is Isaac Smith, and I'm co-owner of Mott's Building Materials. The Mott's Paint Department has everything you need for any budget. We carry professional-grade products from brands like PPG, Ralph Lauren, Czar Stains, all at great prices. With the newest technology on the market, you can see the latest color trends and visualize your next project. If you still need help, we can give you pointers and make suggestions based on what you need. Built on history, built on family, built on trust. Mott's Building Materials.
100% money-back guarantee plus free shipping. Go to hurricane.com. That's hurricane.com. Also available at these fine retailers.
Whoever said our planet had to explain itself. Explore the strange phenomena of our weird Earth. Sunday nights on the Weather Channel.
A tropical storm warning is in effect. Currently in our area, 84 degrees under sunny skies. Today, windy with thunderstorms. High 86. Chance of rain 80%. Tonight, tropical storm conditions likely. Windy with showers and thunderstorms. Low 76. Sunday, windy with heavy thunderstorms. High 82. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Good morning. Welcome back to our continuing coverage. Our first hurricane of the Atlantic Basin this season. It's Hurricane Hanna. Landfall later today along the South Texas Gulf Coast. We're up in the coastal bend just north of Corpus Christi. I'm meteorologist Mike Seidel. This is Port Aransas, Texas, a beautiful wide beach, and it was yesterday. The beach is level, so it doesn't take much of a water rise to have the water cover the beach, but you can see where it drops off normally because of the waves breaking out there, and that's about where we were yesterday, right at high tide. So the tide has come all the way up. Here comes the water as it continues to surge in. Now, remember, because the beach is flat, it doesn't take as much rise, certainly, to get it to go farther. But look, it goes right in between these dunes. These dunes are impressive. They go up 15, 20 feet. So big protection from all the properties. No issues with salt water getting into these buildings. The only issue here outside of the erosion impact in the rip currents today and tomorrow is the fact that we may get some gust with these higher squalls, stronger squalls this afternoon of 50 or 60 miles an hour, and that may take off a shingle or two. You can see what's going on. We're getting a little bit of a cut in the dune here. Some of this will just collapse into the water and then it gets carried away. But then the water will roll back out and you'll see basically just bare ground here. So there's the situation here with the surf. Now, the low tide, the next low tide is coming up at about 2:30 this afternoon here and along the coast down to Matagorda, up to Matagorda, down to Baffin Bay. That's an advantage because that's when we expect roughly about the time that Hanna makes landfall. So that's going to take a little bit of an edge off that storm surge warning impact of 3 to 5 feet above normally high ground. Right now, not a drop of rain. You can see on the radar, we're in the dry here at Port Aransas. We've had winds gusting to 39 miles an hour. That's minimal tropical storm force. But we're watching the center and those bands on the northwest side. They're going to rotate in here, and that's when we're going to have our, our most gnarly weather as far as gusting 50, 60 miles an hour and heavier rainfall rates. Right now, just about a half an inch of rain so far. Inland, it's all about the flooding, the flash flood risks, including South Texas, where we could get up to double-digit rainfall. Not only Hanna, but we've got Gonzalo, we've got Douglas, and we've got a feisty early season wave, 92L, Dr. Postel, and that's the one I'm actually most concerned with once we get through Hanna in the future.
Yeah, we're not done. I mean, we have a long way to go over the next week or 10 days with more things out there to keep a close eye on. One of them, Gonzalo. Now, this storm is actually weakening. Tropical Storm Gonzalo was a bit healthier a few days ago. Now, right about there, closing in on Trinidad and Tobago and the northern part of Venezuela. So it is encountering land as well as some hostile atmospheric conditions around it, which is why it is weaker than it was recently and is probably on a fatal weakening trend. I don't think Gonzalo will survive much longer than the next, say, 24 to 48 hours. It looks extremely unhealthy across the parts of the southern Caribbean Sea. It looks more like a thunderstorm complex that's got a strong wind flowing outward away from it. To keep in mind, a strengthening tropical system would want to bring in the air from the surroundings rather than expel it. So this is one that is kind of collapsing and falling apart in front of your eyes, but still bringing some gusty winds across parts of the islands. Nothing that is unmanageable and certainly not all that different than a tropical wave would provide every several days this time of year anyway. So not bringing a whole lot of weather impacts. Very heavy rain potentially across northern parts of South America and Venezuela. But notice that the cone doesn't go beyond tomorrow evening. That's because it will likely devolve or disintegrate completely in what's known as the graveyard of the Caribbean Sea, where overall a lot of tropical systems go to die. And I think that might be what's happening with Gonzalo. But Mike was talking about yet another one down the pike. And there it is. This is Invest 92L, a fairly healthy tropical wave that rolled off Africa a couple days ago, now with a fairly substantial chance of turning into a depression or a named storm on its westward track over the next 5 days, roughly on a path about like that. This is outlined by the National Hurricane Center, so interests in the Lesser Antilles. Keep an eye on this one because it very well will make a run at those regions, I think, in the next, say, 7 to 10 days. Let me give you an idea. of what we're dealing with now and what we're going to be looking with going forward during the next week. We have Hanna now, Gonzalo, and Invest 92L. According to the European model, watch what happens to Invest 92L. It kind of stays alive. It preserves its integrity as it moves westward through the MDR and closes in across parts of the islands and then into the Caribbean by next weekend. Definitely something to watch. But right now, I'm going to send it over to Mike Seidel, who is right now dealing with Hurricane Hanna closing in on his part of South Texas. Mike.
And once again, Dr. Postel back here at Port Aransas, north of Corpus Christi. The water is still covering the entire beach. High tide about an hour ago. Low tide this afternoon that will help us out as Hanna makes landfall south of here. As a hurricane, we've got continuing coverage through today and tonight. Stay with us here at the Weather Channel.
A migraine hope from Aimovig to show up for the sweet, the hectic, the tender, the tense, the frustrating, and the fiery. But for many, migraine keeps them from saying, I am here. We aim to change that with Aimovig, a preventive treatment for migraine in adults. One dose once a month is proven to reduce monthly migraine days, for some by half or more. Don't take Aimovig if you're allergic to it. Allergic reactions like rash or swelling can happen hours to days after use. Severe constipation can happen, sometimes with serious complications. Common side effects include injection site reactions and constipation. It doesn't matter what each day brings, so long as you can say, I am here. Aim to be there more. Talk to your doctor about Aimovig.
Beat by the heat? Are you tired of those hot, sticky, sweaty days? No matter what you do, you can't get relief from the sun's scorching rays. Now there's the Arctic Hat, the evaporative cooling hat that keeps you 20 degrees cooler than the outside temperature, and has a built-in UV barrier that reflects the sun's heat and harmful UV rays. Just put it on for instant relief from the sun, or wet the inner liner and get the ultimate cooling relief. You'll feel 20 degrees cooler instantly, and it will keep you cool for hours. The secret is hydro-chill technology. An evaporative lining holds and gradually releases water for continuous cooling, while the built-in UV barrier blocks over 99% of the sun's harmful rays, keeping you cool and comfortable all day long. Look, this man's head is a scorching 102 degrees, but with Arctic Hat, he's a comfortable 78. That's over 20 degrees cooler. Breathable and lightweight with ventilated panels that allow air to flow freely. It's perfect for the beach or going for a hike, all kinds of outdoor activities. It's like having a personal air conditioner everywhere you go. Whether you're out enjoying nature or working in the yard, the Arctic Hat will be your cooling companion.
I'm always outside working in the heat, but with the Arctic Hat, I'm feeling cool and comfortable all day.
I burn very easily, but the Arctic Hat's UV protection lets me stay outside a lot longer without worry.
It's fully adjustable, so one size fits all. So get outside and stay cool and protected with Arctic Hat. Call now and get the Arctic Hat in your choice of brimmed hat or cap for just $19.99. Plus, every order today gets free shipping. But order right now and we'll double the offer. Just pay a separate fee. You get 2 Arctic Hats and free shipping for only $19.99. Order now.
To order, call 1-800-887-0193 or go online at buyarctichat.com. Don't delay. Call 1-800-887-0193 or go online at buyarctichat.com. Order now.
Jack was one of 6 million pets in animal shelters in need of a home. He found it in a boy with special needs who also needed him. As part of our love promise, Subaru and our retailers host adoption events and have donated $28 million to support local animal shelters. We're proud to have helped over 230,000 pets so far, changing the lives of dogs like Jack and the families who adopt them. Subaru, more than a car company.
And we are awaiting the approach of the first hurricane of the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season, Hurricane Hanna. I'm meteorologist Paul Godot, live in North Padre Island, the Corpus Christi area of Texas. We have team coverage. My colleague, meteorologist Mike Seidel, is in Port Aransas, which is north of me. Back in the lab, we have Dr. Greg Postel with expert analysis. We even have Jennifer Lopez heading by in the studio. Again, team coverage all weekend long of the first landfall, the first hurricane here in Atlantic hurricane season, forecast to become a very busy season. Landfall will be sometime this afternoon here along the Texas coast, perhaps around Baffin Bay, maybe even farther south. The good news with that is there's not as big of a population in that area of the Texas coast. A little farther south, you got Brownsville and Valley, and we have a lot of impacts from the coast to inland areas with very heavy rain. This is going to be a very dynamic system which has strengthened rapidly over the last 24 hours. In fact, you go back 36 hours, it was a tropical depression. Many people were unaware that we had a threat here in the Gulf, became a tropical storm and a hurricane this morning. So it's going to be a hurricane, Cat 1, as it makes landfall, potentially even strengthening a little bit more as it approaches the coast. We're kind of in between some of the heavier rain bands here, even into Corpus. So if you have any last minute preparations, hopefully they are quick trips, because we need to hunker down. When those heavier rain bands come through, we're going to have the strongest winds. Already seeing winds gusting to tropical storm force at the Naval Air Station here in Corpus Christi. 47-mile-per-hour wind gust the last hour, as now I'm feeling the bigger raindrops come through. Take a look at what's happening here to the beach. We've been on the beach the last couple of days. We easily could see maybe 80, 100 yards of more dry sand that's been inundated by all the wave action here, which at the Bob Hall Pier is up. The water level is up about 3.5 feet and still rising here. The waves easily now, which were 1 to 3 feet the last couple of days, are now perhaps 5 to 8 foot waves. In fact, they're breaking out towards the end of that pier and beyond, and that pier is at least a quarter-mile long there. Huge rolling waves coming in here. We've seen surfers the last couple of days. We haven't seen any this morning, and you see why. It's definitely kind of a sloppy chop out here, but some pretty big waves which continue to push all the way up towards the dune complex. The sand I'm standing on is kind of a man-made over the last day or so. They had front-end loaders pushing up berms of sand to protect some of the overwash into some of the roadways and parking lots as we head to the mainland side of this barrier island. Again, North Padre Island in general, it's a barrier island. So these natural dunes, which are behind me and even behind the camera there, are made to do this, to protect the wave action with storms lashing the coast. So they're doing their job, and even there's going to be some cut-throughs for some roads. The beach was closed yesterday at noon, so we haven't seen anyone out here, fortunately. But we do know this beach vacations is something a lot of Americans are doing now in this year of the pandemic. It's a way to be socially distant and have some semblance of a normal summer for you and the family here. And here's some more waves getting closer to the sand dunes here. So there are a lot of rentals on island and up and down the Texas coast that perhaps people aren't used to dealing with tropical systems. And this is not the time to go out and, hey, I went through Hurricane Hanna. Yeah, this is the time to stay inside with family and friends and protect yourself, because the strongest winds will be coming in throughout the day. And as Hanna starts to slow down, we're going to be lashed by these winds and the heavy rain and even the storm surge and waves for hours and hours. In fact, we're seeing a lot of debris here being taken away. In fact, we saw a lifeguard stand, there it is, been floating around with some of the stronger waves. High tides coming in over the next 10 minutes. Here at the Bob Hall Pier, it's roughly 8:10 a.m. local time is the high tide. So we do expect some of the biggest pushes of water this morning. Low tide around 2:30, which is good news. That's when we do expect Hanna to be approaching. Now, the center should be south of where we're standing, which means we're going to be in the right front quadrant of this, as well as parts of Corpus Christi and Corpus Christi Bay. So we're going to see the onslaught of that push of the winds pushing the waves and the water onshore, not only here across Padre Island, but also into the bay as well. So there will be persistent high water levels throughout the day, and not until this system pushes past us, and that might not happen until perhaps this time tomorrow as this thing slows down, making landfall. So we're going to have prolonged impacts here along the coast, as well as inland towards the bay here in Corpus Christi. So Now is the time. When I was here 3 years ago for Harvey, I was shocked, kind of dismayed about the number of people just getting out to be in a hurricane. It's been years since this area was directly hit by a hurricane. Now it's only been 3 years, and Harvey did do massive damage here, even north of us, where it came on shore in Mustang Island, then across towards Rockport and Portland, devastated. Yes, we know Harvey for the flooding in Houston, and flooding is definitely something we're watching down towards the valley. Heads Up Valley, we're talking McAllen, those areas, the Rio Grande Valley. This could be your Harvey. We could see some areas pick up perhaps close to a foot of rain, and that could be catastrophic in that area. Well, again, we have team coverage covering the landfall of the first hurricane. Let's go north of where I am, and my colleague Mike Seidel has been there as well. And Mike, talk about the conditions you're seeing there, because you had a high tide a little bit earlier than we're seeing high tide here in North Padre. Indeed, Paul, our high tide was 7:34 about an hour and a half ago, and we've seen very little evidence that the tide has gone out because Hanna's making its approach, and we're getting that push from Hanna. So the tide is trying to go out, but it's fighting the force of the push or the surge of water on shore. We just had a surge go all the way up to the beach lodge again, so we're not seeing any evacuation of the water on a permanent basis. Here comes some more water. Water temp 86 degrees, very, very warm. I want to show you first what it looked like yesterday at high tide, Charles Peak with the drone up, and look at the beach from above. Nice wide beach. Folks out with their pop-up tents until the wind came in with an outflow, and that took one down the beach, and everybody else put theirs down. But you sense of how much beach is covered. But let me give you a disclaimer. This is a very flat beach. There's little, if any, elevation change until you get to the dunes behind me. So with that in mind, you don't need a lot of surge increase in the tide to get the water over the whole beach. So that's what's going on right now. We're also seeing things floating down the beach. Right here, just behind me, about 25 yards, is where the trash cans and porta potties were. They're way, way down there now. They've moved about 75 yards down the beach. Just the water. We talk about water and floating cars. Doesn't take much. Doesn't take much for these objects out here on the beach at this point. The other concern would be the threat for severe weather. When those stronger rain bands come in, right now we're in a lull, we're just getting some light rain and gusts to close to 40. When those stronger rain bands come in, we're going to be in the right front quadrant. That is a concern. We may get some spin-ups. We had one earlier tornado warning based on Doppler radar well north or west of us inland, but we could have additional tornado warnings. Tornadoes with a system like this tend to be quick, but they can do damage. They tend to be EF0s or EF1s, so we'll watch that and see if the Storm Prediction Center puts out a tornado watch. Rainfall, too, especially as Paul mentioned, down in the Rio Grande Valley. Up here, we're forecasting several inches so far. We've had about a half an inch of rain. But Dr. Postel, or let's go back to Paul Goodloe down in North Padre and Corpus. Paul, I checked your Corpus Christi ob recently. I know you're closer to the Naval Air Station, but the airport itself had not gusted to 40 yet. But those higher gusts should come in there this afternoon as you get those bands associated with the center that goes into your south. Yeah, certainly. That's where the heavier rain is, too, looking at the radar. So that's where the strongest winds will be as well. So watching the coastline here, and they have all these picnic tables, and one by one, they're kind of being dismantled and becoming victims of the agitated surf from Hurricane Hanna here, still battering these things. You know, it's a little refuge of shade out here on the beach, and as you can see along the shore, there's still plenty of them up, but yeah, we'll check throughout the morning to see how many. It's almost like dominoes. They're going to be slowly kind of knocked down as we have more and more of the surf coming in here. And in fact, I'm normally standing on a place that would be pavement, and it's covered with a thick, heavy, wet sand here as the tide continues to come on through here. Now, this was supposed to make landfall as a tropical storm, but this morning upgraded to a hurricane. They changed the forecast yesterday. I want to bring in Dr. Greg Postel to talk about this, and one of the ingredients is just the warm waters here. Temperatures 87, 89 degree water temperature. This seems to be like a hotbed for to really breed and strengthen tropical systems.
Yeah, Paul, that was definitely one of the factors that allowed Hanna to strengthen from a tropical storm to a hurricane, and maybe even strengthen a little bit more past this. We are dealing with a 75-mile-per-hour Category 1 hurricane with definitely potential for a lot of flooding rain and significant storm surge. Water rises several feet above normally dry ground. Paul and Mike are already experiencing some of that as we speak, some of the wave run-up as well. So what we've got is a hurricane that is closing in on South Texas. If you're just tuning in, you might be thinking, what happened? Well, yeah, we are dealing with now a strengthening system as it approaches the coast. We've seen that before lately. It seems to be more common than not. What we've got there is some wind gusts. Seidel and Paul, we're talking about the wind gusts. The Naval Air Station at Corpus Christi gusting to 47 miles per hour with a sustained wind of 36. But the strongest winds have yet to arrive, and I'll talk about when they will. And it might happen even after landfall. How about that? Here's a close-in shot at what we've got at some of the conditions locally, where we're dealing with Port Aransas 32 sustained, Rockport 22 sustained. So very manageable winds right now, and only some scattered showers. But the worst weather you can see is sort of circulating around the center of Hanna, the eye, which is right in there. And as the winds become more east rather than north, the wind speeds along the coast will gradually pick up and the weather will get worse. But it's not just in South Texas. Let's go up the coast a little bit. We are even seeing some significant rain and gusty winds moving through Houston, Texas, with some thunder and lightning. And the threat for tornadoes is significant across this region later on this afternoon. And we already had a tornado warning earlier. That is common with landfalling tropical systems on the edges especially. This is also what we've got on the edge of Hanna. Rain coming in into parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. So the beach weather, not good. Rip current risk high. Gusty winds as well. All on the outer edge with a fairly large circulation associated with Hanna. So let's talk about that circulation, because there's the center of it right about there. Now, right now, the winds along the coast are kind of parallel to it. Once Hanna moves inland about like that, say just south of due west, when the wind turns around to the east and into the southeast, when that flow comes on board, that's when the wind speeds will pick up. That's when you're most likely to see wind gusts at hurricane strength up to 75 miles per hour, maybe a little bit higher than that, mostly along the coast. Once you get inland, even just off the beaches, the wind speeds radically diminish and becomes much less of an issue. Then it becomes a rain issue, unfortunately. A lot of rain is coming for South Texas and our friends in Mexico as well. We're going to be dealing with this long after landfall. So landfall doesn't end the story. This continues on its way across the Rio Grande during the morning hours tomorrow morning, and bringing with it very heavy rain, landslides and mudslides, all a possibility as well, even though wind by then will not be a threat. Here's what we've got for the amount of rain yet to come: as much as a foot in South Texas, probably just north of Brownsville. And also, we are going to be dealing again with that storm surge potential, especially when the winds turn around to the east. Water rises of 3 to 5 feet above normally dry ground. Significant coastal flooding, also an issue with landfalling Hanna. Paul.
Yeah, Greg, again, definitely going to watch this because it's going to take quite some time. I've been kind of walking around between the big waves here, looking at some of the debris. See this deck board with, you know, a nice handful of screws sitting out here. So another reason why you really shouldn't be out here, let alone walking or let alone driving. That could definitely send you to a trip to the ER, urgent care, trip you probably don't want to make in these COVID-19 days as well. Let's talk about timing of this, because this is going to be a long duration event we're watching here along the Texas coast, because it still continues to come on shore as we head on throughout the day, throughout the night, and we still have impacts even into your Sunday as well. And we can show the timing of this. The center is really not going to make landfall until later on today, if not this afternoon, and it doesn't really move very fast at that point. It continues to bring that rain and all the wind bands. The strongest winds will be in the heaviest winds well into the Rio Grande Valley. It's talking about McAllen, Laredo, Zapata, all throughout the night and into even the pre-dawn hours. So this could be an overnight flash flood issue across many of the communities there in the valley. And then also, again, weather doesn't understand borders. It also moves into Mexico, and that part of Mexico could be devastated, as well as that part of South Texas, deep South Texas, with that heavy rain. We're talking 6, maybe even 12 inches of rain as we head through now into Monday. And even Monterrey, Mexico, the thunderstorms and the moisture continues into the beginning of the week. So we could have a devastating event approach this area, and that's on top of COVID-19. So we're in uncharted territory on both sides of the border here, dealing dealing with a very active hurricane season, a landfalling hurricane, as well as the ongoing pandemic. So you're concerned about people's lives from storm surge and flash flooding and freshwater flooding, as well as the pandemic. So uncharted territory we're going into right now. Let's go back to the studio and check back in with Jennifer Lopez.
All right. Well, Paul, we're also worried about that storm surge. In fact, warnings up and down much of the coast here in Texas, anywhere from Aranza Bay all the way through South Padre Island. We are concerned with the high rise in the water. Already noticing an increase in the storm surge right at the pier at Corpus Christi. It's just now over 4 feet, and it's going to continue to stay high. Anywhere from 3 to 5 feet can be expected from Victoria, Port O'Connor, all the way down to Corpus. And again, the flooding, not just a concern with the high rains in deep South Texas, but the inland areas also need to watch out for this. So rain up and down the coast, and it could be heavy at times and dangerous.
Constant hand washing causes hands to dry and crack. Try O'Keeffe's Working Hands. It's America's #1 hand cream for guaranteed relief of dry, cracked hands. Also available in O'Keeffe's for healthy feet. Guaranteed relief for extremely dry, cracked feet.
My patients, I often see them have teeth sensitivity as well as gum issues. Does it worry me? Absolutely. They are both very much hand in hand, so you should really be focusing on both, and definitely at the same time. The new Sensodyne Sensitivity and Gum gives us a dual action effect that really takes care of both our teeth sensitivity as well as our gum issues. By brushing with Sensodyne Sensitivity and Gum at home, it's giving you the relief that you need and the control that you need to take care of your oral health. And it creates a healthier environment. There's no question it's something that I would recommend.
This is an athlete 20 reps deep, sprinting past every leak in our softest, smoothest fabric. She's confident, protected, her strength respected. Depend. The only thing stronger than us is you.
The new house is amazing. So much character.
Original crown molding, walk-in closets.
We do have a rat problem. At least Geico makes bundling our home and car insurance easy.
It does help us save.
For bundling made easy, go to geico.com.
This summer, we've all got miles to make up. Miles to the job site, to the campsite, and anything else we set our sights on. Miles that take us back to the people we've missed, and to those who could make this summer mean more than ever before. Get the most out of those miles during the Ram Summer Clearance event.
This summer, you've been home cooking up a storm, sharing your most irresistible recipes with the ones you love. So at King's Hawaiian, we wanted to share some of your irresistibly delicious ideas with the world. Like Christie's Greek Almighty Burger, or Lucy's Chili Dog Days of Summer. And of course, Trudy's Sweet Island Chicken Sliders. And if you want to share even...
Feel certain in these uncertain times. Hacienda Mobile Homes are clean and safe for you and your loved ones. Get into a pre-owned 2-bedroom rental home starting at $595 a month with a $600 deposit. Call or visit one of our parks and get $200 off for 2 months. HaciendaMobileHomes.com, 956-704-1520. Hacienda Mobile Homes. We love making things easy.
Now's the time to make your front lawn feel more like a welcome mat. The new Z200 is built to cut like a pro, to cut quickly, to turn on a dime, to control with effortless precision. Kubota quality, affordable price. The new Kubota Z200. Right now, get the Kubota Z200 mower for 0 down and 0% APR for 48 months.
At Amigo Power Equipment in Edinburgh.
Her insurance price. Good for you, Kate. Good for you.
GoodRx. Stop paying too much for your prescriptions. Download the free app today.
Whoever said our planet had to explain itself. Explore the strange phenomena of our weird Earth. Sunday nights on the Weather Channel.
A tropical storm warning is in effect. Currently in our area, 84 degrees under fair skies. Today, windy with thunderstorms. High 85. Chance of rain 80%. Tonight, tropical storm conditions likely. Windy with showers and thunderstorms. Low 76. Sunday, windy with heavy thunderstorms. High 82. Here
Welcome back to Weekend Recharge. We're covering the first hurricane of the season making landfall. Upper left side of your screen, South Padre Island, Texas. You're expecting it to go downhill throughout the day. Bottom left, Corpus Christi, Texas. You can see the camera shaking there as the strong gusty winds gusting in the mid-40s right now. Galveston, Texas, you'll see rain and some increased surf throughout the day because of Hanna, but it's making landfall south of you, but you'll have impacts. And then North Padre Island, you can see the winds whipping the top of the waves as they're crashing on shore here, and we've been dealing with that all morning long. Welcome back to Weekend Recharge. I'm meteorologist Paul Goodlow, live. That's the Bob Hall Pier behind me here. We got here this morning. You can see some of the, picnic tables that line the beach here, and like dominoes, one by one, they have been becoming victims of Hurricane Hanna agitating the Gulf of Mexico. Normally, there's at least 80 to 100 more yards of beach from where I'm standing to where the dry sand would normally be on a day, but you can see as far as you can, the visibility is, you can see white caps and breaking waves well out towards the end of that pier. That pier is probably at least a quarter-mile long as well. We saw plenty of surfers the last couple of days, but you can see how these, not only the picnic tables, but even little pylons, or the wooden pylons, they've been ripped out of the water, and also seeing them going around the surf right there. There's one there. From a distance, it looks like perhaps someone's head. Then you realize, okay, it's just one of those wooden pylons that kind of line and separate the road from the parking lot here, which is now underwater and also covered with sand. As far as you can see, more and more water even coming up to this dune that I'm standing on. This is not a natural dune. This was made by a bulldozer just yesterday trying to protect some of the overwash. Normally, we'd have a lot more water on that part of the island, and this is normally a road that gives you access to these beach parking lots that head on towards the beach. But yeah, the waves have been coming up. High tide is basically right now. The tide will try to go out, but Hanna's pushing it back in. Low tide around 2:30, closer to the landfall time. So we're going to see probably the water really not get that low, and then after 2:30, probably get even higher with a storm surge. Storm surge is forecast to be 3 to 5 feet, and we could perhaps see that even higher. Right now, the water rise at the Bob Hall Pier is about 3.5 feet, and we expect that to keep going up and up and up as we still have a lot of the push of this hurricane, our first hurricane of the season. We have team coverage. Let's go north of me towards Port Aransas, where I checked with the water temperatures. Yesterday was 89 degrees, Mike Seidel, and that's one of the ingredients of why we had Tropical Storm Hanna strengthen to a hurricane. Indeed, it's very warm water, and it's still not showing any signs of really receding, although we had high tide almost 2 hours ago. The trash cans have been blown down the beach. We've got this bag of trash here. Fortunately, they're in bags, so we're going to see this go down the beach towards the south, down here on Mustang Island, Port Aransas Beach. The other thing we've noticed is the wind is now ramping up a little bit more, especially the sustained wind, now running 25 to 30 miles an hour. It's dry right now, but look offshore, not far away. We've got those bands around the center, and that's where we're going to get our squally weather, with the winds gusting 50 to 60 miles an hour and some very heavy rainfall. Right now, we're about a half an inch of rain. That's it so far here on Port Aransas. but we're going to get more rainfall. And then inland and South Texas gets the bulk of the rain as far as potentially 8, 10, even 12 inches of rain. Yesterday, the beach wide open. Driving on the beach, and we were out, oh gosh, about 75 to 100 yards behind these posts. Well, today, Dr. Postel, because of the rise of the surge, the entire beach is underwater. But keep in mind, this beach is pretty much level, so it doesn't take much of a rise. Let's talk about the chain of Hawaiian Islands, Dr. Postel, because they don't get hurricanes very often, and this is early in the season. What's the latest thinking on Douglas as it heads towards the String of Pearls?
Well, it will bring some impacts to be sure, but Douglas, thankfully, is not anywhere near as strong as it was a couple of days ago. Now it is on a weakening trend as it moves toward the Hawaiian Islands. It's a 110-mile-per-hour hurricane for now, but the trends on the satellite pictures are good ones in the sense that we're seeing generally, overall, the trend is the cloud tops to warm, meaning the thunderstorms not as vigorous or as intense as they were not long ago, and that trend will likely continue as Douglas continues to move generally in this direction toward the Hawaiian Island chain. Now, the center may move north of the Big Island and may not actually get the most intense part of it anywhere on the islands. That's good news. But we will still see some impacts. Here's a sort of a breakdown of what we expect with Douglas. We will expect it to move very close to the Hawaiian Islands, likely later on tomorrow. Hurricane watches are up, and the exact track is not exactly clear, but at least we're thankful that it's coming in from the east. We would not want it to come in from the south like that, like some prior dangerous hurricanes have, because generally those hurricanes taking that trajectory move over warmer water and can preserve their intensity a lot longer. Douglas will likely weaken along the way, perhaps moving very close to Honolulu later on tomorrow evening as a 75-mile-per-hour hurricane, and probably keeping the worst impacts offshore if indeed this forecast verifies. Here is a wind forecast for Douglas as we move through tonight and tomorrow. You can see that the core of the strongest winds hopefully will move north of the islands, but still some heavy rain and some big waves along the way. Stay tuned for all-day coverage on the hurricane.
When you need to see up close, do you squint and strain? And without enough light, it's more of a pain. Then you need Mighty Sight, the new LED lighted magnifying eyewear that makes detailed tasks easy to see. Ultra bright and hands-free. Inspired by the eyewear worn by surgeons, Mighty Sight gives you instant 160% magnification and brings prescription labels up close and clear. Look closer. The high-definition optical lenses utilize new magnification technology, while two built-in LEDs provide maximum illumination. With Mighty Sight, you'll see intricate detail with vision as sharp as an eagle. Enjoy pastime hobbies with laser-like clarity, or complete DIY projects without any eye strain. No more juggling magnifiers or clumsy flashlights. Mighty Sight fits comfortably over your prescription glasses and are rechargeable, so they're always ready when you are. Perfect for reading, knitting, arts and crafts, and more. Best of all, the LED lights follow your view with pinpoint accuracy, so you won't disturb others around you.
I could never read the tiny print on my vitamins, but now with Mighty Sight, it's as clear as a bell.
Don't give up on detailed tasks. Just reach for Mighty Sight. There's nothing like them on the market today. Act now to get your LED magnification eyewear, Mighty Sight, with charging cord for just $19.99. But wait, we'll include this protective carrying case free. And here's a mighty good deal. We'll send you a second pair. Keep one in the nightstand and one in a kitchen drawer. Just pay a separate fee. That's 2 sets for one low price. See what you've been missing and get up close and clear with Mighty Sight. Call now.
To order Mighty Sight, call 1-800-251-9452 or go online at buymightysite.com. Don't delay. Call 1-800-251-9452 or go to buymightysite.com. Order now.
Severe storm damage can cost you thousands in repairs. Hi, Phil Swift here. This storm season, you need the entire Flex Seal family of products. Make fast, easy, on-the-spot repairs. Seal up cracks and holes to prevent wind and water from damaging your home. Now it's easy to make quick automotive repairs. Severe storms can be a nightmare. Now you can patch huge holes to seal up roof leaks. Easily fix busted downspouts and replace loose siding. Floods can destroy your home. Push FlexPace deep into wet surfaces to help prevent flood damage. With the FlexSeal family of products, you can patch, bond, seal, and repair. Even the worst conditions are no match for the FlexSeal family of products. Get the FlexSeal family of products at these fine retailers.
Jack was one of 6 million pets in animal shelters in need of a home. He found it in a boy with special needs who also needed him. As part of our love promise, Subaru and our retailers host adoption events and have donated $28 million to support local animal shelters. We're proud to have helped over 230,000 pets so far, changing the lives of dogs like Jack and the families who adopt them. Subaru, more than a car company.
Welcome back to Weekend Recharge. We're tracking the landfall of Hurricane Hanna on the Texas coast. There's a live look at North Padre Island, and yep, some folks out there. What the danger? Yeah, I dealt with the Hanna. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I tell you what, you know, there's a lot of debris here. A lot of debris with things like nails. Luckily, I have boots that have a non-penetrative sole, so if I do step on something, it's not going to go into my foot. But we got crazy waves here destroying a lot of picnic tables and other debris, which is rolling all across the Texas coast. You have no idea where the debris actually came from, but there's tons of debris on these beaches. You can see the wave action there. Those waves are easily, what, 5+ feet of waves here. We're seeing gusts at the Naval Air Station to 47 miles per hour and tropical storm, nearly tropical storm force sustained winds. So it is a rough day to be out here across any part of Padre Island throughout the rest of the day and even into tomorrow as well. It's going to be rough. And this is the shot from Charles Peak. We'll talk with him coming up a little bit later this morning. Well, we're here close to Bob Hall Pier here, where the water level rise is already 3.5 feet. I'm going to try to hazard to getting down here, and these are picnic benches, picnic tables, which line the beach here, and you can see just from this part of the wood that normally these things are a good maybe 3.5 feet into the sand, and they've been toppling over like dominoes. As long as you can see here on the beach, more and more are being knocked down because of the wave action here, and we expect more and more throughout the day. The good news is we just passed high tide, so the tide is trying to go out, but we're going to be on the north side of the center of Hanna, which means we're going to be in that right front quadrant. So the winds and the waves pushing this way right onto the Texas coast. So the tide can't really go out that much because Hanna is pushing it back in. Low tide around 2:30, which is good timing, but after that, the tide comes back in. So we have a rising tide and a rising storm surge, which will continue to battle the Texas coast throughout the afternoon and the evening. And landfall might not be at 2:30, it could be after 2:30. So the coastal risk continues here. Well, let's take you up the beach into Port Aransas, where my colleague Mike Seidel has been. And Mike, talk about the waves there. What type of size waves are you seeing kind of breaking there in the Port Aransas area?
Paul, they're breaking so far out, it's hard to tell. I'd estimate 8 to 10 footers, even higher off the coastal waters. But the water is riding all the way up the beach. Keep in mind the beach here is fairly level, so it doesn't take much of a rise, a surge, to cover the beach. It looks worse than it does once the tide goes out and the surge backs off. We'll see a lot different picture. In fact, we'll show you what it looked like yesterday afternoon, late yesterday afternoon. Charles Peak had his drone up, and look how wide the beach is. So you get a sense of what it typically is on a day without a hurricane approaching the coast. Our first hurricane of the season here in late July, and that's going to come in south of us down around Baffin Bay. So the wind right now is north-northeast, sustained 25 to 30. We've had gusts up around 40, but it's those squalls off the coast. You can see the bright bands in the radar on the northwest quadrant. They're going to come rotating in here towards the coastal bend, Port Aransas, Rockport, down to Corpus where Paul is, and that is where we're going to have the strongest winds and the heaviest rainfall. So, Dr. Postel, I think here we could gust 50, 60 miles an hour. Certainly not the gusts are going to get where the center comes on shore. You've got more analysis on Hanna, and the other threat for millions will be inland and the heavy rainfall totals of double digits.
Yes, rainfall will be a significant threat. Some storm surge will be also, and the wind as well. So we got the trifecta there for you. And let's have a look at the radar, the latest radar trend showing you Hanna is closing in on South Texas as we speak. The winds are slowly beginning to pick up. Corpus Christi Naval Air Station, 36 gusts to 47. Those are the strongest winds that I could find right now on land. But keep in mind, the strongest winds are out in this zone on the east and even in the southeast side of the system. So once the system makes landfall, it's around that time and even shortly thereafter. That's about when we're going to see those strongest winds come on board. There's a sample of them again right now, and you can see that the center keeps moving steadily toward the west or even slightly south of due west. But it's not just even in South Texas. Their impacts felt far and wide. Let's go up the coast here on the Texas coast. We got Houston, some scattered showers and thunderstorms, gusty winds. The outer rain bands of Hanna are affecting Houston in areas nearby. And of course, on the satellite pictures, this is beautiful. You might be tempted to think, well, the center circulation is out here. Is that the eye? It's not. The center circulation is actually underneath or very close to this area of very deep thunderstorms, tall thunderstorms out there, helping to at least maintain Hanna's strength and maybe giving it a little opportunity to strengthen a little bit more before it makes landfall. Just not a lot of time and space and room for this thing to strengthen very quickly. But it could uptick a little bit as it moves on closer to the coast. And then look what happens tomorrow morning. The center may be inland, well distance inland, but we're still dealing with this onshore coastal flooding threat with gusty winds as well all throughout the morning hours. And make sure you stay tuned to the Weather Channel all day long. We'll have live coverage along the Texas coast with the arrival of Hurricane Hanna.
This is no ordinary sub shop. This is Firehouse Subs, where our family of restaurant owners and local crews are still making mouth-watering, hot, hearty subs just the way you like them. It's easy to order online at firehousesubs.com or use the Firehouse Subs app. Your order will be boxed, bagged, and ready for pickup or delivery. And remember, a portion of every purchase at Firehouse Subs helps provide life-saving equipment for first responders. Visit firehousesubs.com to order pickup or delivery.
There's nothing as unique as our eyes, which is why Essilor pioneers ways to make lenses as unique as you. Varilux for super sharp vision, Essential Blue for protection, and Crizal for freedom from glare. 3 cutting-edge solutions in a single unique lens. So whatever your needs, insist on Essilor. Visit your local Essilor experts and find the perfect lens for you. See more, do more, Essilor.
Experience the joy of a bigger world in a highly connected Lexus vehicle at the Golden Opportunity Sales Event.
Lease the 2020 ES350 for $359 a month for 36 months.
Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
Yeah, I'm married. Doesn't matter. You do that for me? Really? Yeah, I'd like that.
Who are you talking to?
It's Jake from State Farm. Sounds like a really good deal.
Jake from State Farm at 3 in the morning? Who is this?
It's Jake from State Farm.
What are you wearing, Jake from State Farm?
Khakis? Hey, do they ever ask you what you're wearing?
Yeah.
Red sweater, button-down shirt. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
This year, the Alzheimer's Association Walk to End Alzheimer's is everywhere. All of us are raising funds for one goal, a world without Alzheimer's and all other dementia. Because this disease isn't waiting, neither are you. Go to alz.org/walk.
Stand up if you are... I will tell you this, Southern New Hampshire University can change the whole trajectory of your life.
A migraine hope from Aimovig to show up for the sweet, the hectic, the tender, the tense, the frustrating, and the fiery. But for many, migraine keeps them from saying, I am here. We aim to change that with Aimovig, a preventive treatment for migraine in adults. One dose once a month is proven to reduce monthly migraine days, for some by half or more. Don't take Aimovig if you're allergic to it. Allergic reactions like rash or swelling can happen hours to days after use. Severe constipation can happen, sometimes with serious complications. Common side effects include injection site reactions and constipation. It doesn't matter what each day brings, so long as you can say, I am here. Aim to be there more. Talk to your doctor about Aimovig.
Welcome back to Weekend Recharge. We are tracking Hanna, the first hurricane of the Atlantic season, going to make landfall as we head throughout this Saturday on the Texas coast. This live look at North Padre Island. Huge waves here, easily 5 to 8 feet. We're expecting a storm surge of 3 to 5 feet, and some parts of the Texas coast are already dealing with a water rise of 3 to 4 feet, and we're just coming down from high tide, but we still have the onslaught and the push of water and the rise of water, which will be ahead and under Hurricane Hanna. Let's go from North Padre down to South Padre. Again, this whole Padre Island system about 110 miles long, give or take another 10 or so. And you can see also waves coming in there, not as intense yet. You're seeing a little bit more offshore wind there, but we too will be dealing with an increased wave height and storm surge even across South Padre Island, although North Padre will see a higher because they're on the north side of the eye. Let's head farther north into Galveston, Texas, which is about 45 miles or so south of Houston. Yes, we're also seeing rain showers, but overall, increased wave action, increased rip current. So people perhaps venturing out to the beach there need to be aware of the increased rip current and see people in the water already. Hopefully they just stay around perhaps ankle or knee deep and not go any deeper, because there is an increased concern for rip currents there. And not to mention severe weather. Even the Houston area, we could see tornado warnings today. We have that concern. I think we had a tornado warning earlier today because of the circulation associated with Hanna. Let's take you into Corpus Christi, and we're also concerned with bay flooding as well. The North Beach area in Corpus, notorious for flooding. They will most undoubtedly see high water there, and you can see the waves already here on the island side of Corpus Christi. As far as you can see, the waves are breaking because of the wind and the agitation from now Hurricane Hanna approached the area. We're seeing winds gusting in the airport, Corpus Christi, to tropical storm force, 39-mile-per-hour wind gusts there, sustained winds in the mid-20s. So we're seeing already the winds and the rain come through. We're seeing a break in the heavier rain right now, but looking at the radar, we know the heavier rain bands will be coming in over the next couple of hours. And with those heavy rain bands, we have some of the strongest wind gusts. So don't let your guard down. We're seeing a few people every now and then out here on the beach, even with their dogs. But here's the concern. There's so much debris here, as well as the ocean coming up. In fact, sorry, Austin, to make you turn this far, but this piece of wood is little barriers for the parking lot here, and this is a pretty substantial piece of wood here, but it's being plucked up and thrown around just like these picnic tables are here, as we have the relentless action of the Gulf of Mexico. Normally, we could see 80, maybe 100 yards of dry sand here, but not today with the big push and the rise of water and then the wave action as well. So we're going to keep a close eye on more of these things being knocked down, becoming victims of Hurricane Hanna. All right, now let's go back to studio and check back in with Jennifer Lopez.
Well, certainly the start of this season is getting off to a very active start. Between now, though, and the end of November, we still have a lot more to look at as far as the hurricane season. Our Jen Carfagno tells us more. The busy start to the season and COVID-19 have relief organizations like the Red Cross rethinking their disaster game plans.
I'm from New Jersey, and we had Sandy, and I was down with Katrina.
Jim Corrigan, like nearly half of Red Cross volunteers, is over 60.
The safety of these volunteers is our #1 priority.
That segment of the population more vulnerable to COVID-19. The Red Cross will keep high-risk volunteers on the job this hurricane season with changes.
They have the opportunity to deploy virtually and really provide that support that can be done via phone, via computer, to those people that have been affected by disasters.
Team Rubicon swoops in to rebuild, like volunteers did after Hurricane Harvey slammed Texas 3 years ago. Like the Red Cross, many Team Rubicon volunteers are older Americans. To limit exposure to the coronavirus, training has become virtual.
So we took, for example, our logistics section chief class, which we had planned to just roll out in person, and we modified that to be available as an online course so we could keep building, depth in our command and general staff and get them ready ahead of storm season.
The pandemic is forcing relief organizations to deepen their benches with younger volunteers. Texas is turning to its campuses for a pool of potential volunteers, 1.5 million college students.
This is really a great time for us to reach out and select or elicit volunteers from a lot of our colleges and universities, and we really want to get that message out. We need to continue to grow the spirit of volunteerism in the United States.
Well, the Salvation Army is also having to navigate the new normal. Coming up next hour, they're going to tell us how this pandemic is changing operations during this hurricane season. Speaking of hurricanes, we have another one we're looking at. We're way out in the Pacific, this one getting closer to the Hawaiian Islands. With winds up to 105 miles an hour, Douglas is expected to go towards the islands. Looks like the brunt of the strongest winds could be just over the islands or to the north. But they certainly are preparing for this with tropical storm warnings and hurricane watches in place. And we also have another tropical storm way down in the Caribbean. It is weakening, but getting closer to Trinidad.
So I'm going to hold on promoting you this quarter. Cool?
Drop the taco. Get in the car. Does this Sentra feel like a compromise to you? Wait, what? The handling, it's good, right? No compromise there. Nope.
Watch this.
Breathe. Rear automatic braking. So if this Nissan Sentra isn't going to compromise, why should you? You're right. Atta girl.
The all-new Nissan Sentra with more standard safety features than any other car in its class.
At Dish, we took our voice remote and added the Google Assistant. Why? Because sometimes you need to control the temperature, the lights, and the TV. Dish, tuned in to you.
Shake it, kiddo. Love, comma, dad.
Rice Krispies treats. A little love when it's needed. My patients, I often see them have teeth sensitivity as well as gum issues. Does it worry me? Absolutely. They are both very much hand in hand, so you should really be focusing on both, and definitely at the same time. The new Sensodyne sensitivity and gum gives us a dual action effect that really takes care of both our teeth sensitivity as well as our gum issues. By brushing with Sensodyne sensitivity and gum at home, it's giving you the relief that you need and the control that you need to take care of your oral health. And it creates a healthier environment. There's no question it's something that I would recommend.
3 facts. 1, crude oil is crude. 2, natural gas is pure. 3, Pennzoil is made from natural gas. It gives you unbeatable engine protection. The proof is in the Pennzoil.
Every glass of Tropicana watermelon has a million little sips of sunshine, turning a moment of summer refreshment into a moment of summer amazement. Tropicana, sip your sunshine.
When it's especially important to keep skin clean, keep reaching for Cetaphil. Recommended by dermatologists. Awarded by Allure. And most of all, loved by skin. Cetaphil, the cleanser sensitive skin loves.
New Lean Cuisine Bowls. With 20% more food. For 20% more.
Bunny is just breaking through every time. He's getting pressure on Velociraptor. You gotta fill the gap. You gotta know.
Dad?
Yes?
I need Lammy back.
Well, Lammy is Daddy's tight end.
I know, but we're having a tea party.
Oh, do you know who loves tea and has hands of stone? Muffin. Just big concrete mitts. She hasn't caught a pass all day.
Want NFL Red Zone? Get the Spectrum TV Sports Pack. Over 10 sports channels for just $5 more a month. Upgrade now on channel 2495.
In these uncertain times, feel certain in one of our new homes. Hacienda Mobile Homes. Our homes are clean and safe for you and your loved ones. Get into a brand new 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home starting at $850 a month and $1,600 total move-in. Lease with an option to purchase. HaciendaMobileHomes.com, 956-704-1520. Hacienda Mobile Homes. We love making things easy.
Culture, a mindset, and a new point of view. Babbel, language for life. Go to Babbel.com and try it for free today.
Whoever said our planet had to explain itself. Explore the strange phenomena of our weird Earth. Sunday nights on the Weather Channel.
A tropical storm warning is in effect. Currently in our area, 85 degrees under sunny skies. Today, windy with thunderstorms. High 85. Chance of rain 80%. Tonight, tropical storm conditions likely. Windy with showers and thunderstorms. Low 76. Sunday, windy with heavy thunderstorms. High 82. Here's our 7-day outlook.
No, but
Good morning and welcome back to Port Aransas, Texas. I'm meteorologist Mike Seidel. The water is up across the Big Bend area of Texas, the coastal bend rather, and all the way down towards the Rio Grande because of Hurricane Hanna. We've got this gentleman who's been trying to windsurf all morning, hasn't had much luck, but he's giving it the old college try. Hurricane Hanna now with sustained winds as of the 11 o'clock update of 80 miles an hour, so it's intensified just a little bit more, and that pressure continues to drop. It's moving west at 7, so it's slowed down a little bit. That means it's going to take longer to make landfall south of here this afternoon. Here on the beach, well, here's what we're seeing as far as not really damage, but trash cans have been dislodged from their foundations, and the portable bathrooms are floating down the beach. Doesn't take much water. Between the force of the water and the wind, they're just floating down the beach right now. As far as the rainfall, we've had about a half an inch of rain, but look at the radar. In about an hour, within the hour, we're going to get into the much stronger weather from Hanna. Those squalls, those tropical squalls where winds could gust 50 to 60 miles an hour, and we'll have the blinding horizontal rain. It's just off the coast. It's going to rotate in here, and we're going to be in that for quite a while. And that's where we could get some minor power outages from those kind of wind gusts. Let's go back to the studio in Atlanta. Dr. Greg Postel, we've got Hanna, we've got Gonzalo, we've got Douglas, and we have that 92L, which I think is going to play, certainly pique the interest of many, many folks in the next week to 10 days.
Yeah, I have a feeling social media, if it hasn't already, is going to become aglow with thoughts of what happens to 92L in the distant eastern Atlantic for now. But let's have a look at just a quick overview of what's going on. If you're just tuning in, you might have thought that Gonzalo would be a big player for us as it moves in now parts of the Caribbean, through the Caribbean islands, the Windward Islands there. But it has, in the last couple of days, weakened. Gonzalo looks to be on a final weakening trend with overall prospects for survival very glim, or glib, I should say. We should watch this thing as it moves westward, unlikely to survive its track past Venezuela on the north side. So really, Gonzalo has hit the brakes, and it will likely suffer that sort of weakening trend, that fatal weakening trend, thanks to both atmospheric and nearby land influences that have had a negative impact on it. So let's also look at now Invest 92L in the distant eastern Atlantic, because this one's very interesting. It's got a 60% chance of turning into a depression or a named storm over the next 5 days, according to the National Hurricane Center. And this is moving steadily westward across the main development region of the tropical Atlantic, with if development is going to occur, very likely in this hatched area. So once again, interest in the For example, the Windward and the Leeward Islands of the Lesser Antilles pay very close attention to the movement of 92L and its future progress, because it may strengthen as it moves westward and organize in a way that could pose some problems. So here, let me show you the overall view looking about a week. I'm just going to take one model here. It's not perfect. I know that. I get it. But let's look at Hanna, which is soon to make landfall later on this evening, and Gonzalo, which is probably going to be weakening in the next 36 hours. But 92L may be the one left over out of these three in the next week that we have to pay very close attention to, because there it goes, according to the Euro model, by early next week, and then moving through potentially the Leeward Islands and the Windward Islands of the Lesser Antilles and into the Caribbean, and in about a week's time, maybe closer than that to parts of the Caribbean and the United States. Something to watch. Long time to watch it. It's distant way out there, but just giving you a heads up. Here's the latest advisory that Mike Seidel was talking about on Hurricane Hanna. Intensity come up a little bit, now 80 miles per hour. A Category 1 hurricane slowing down a little bit. So there's some room, a little bit of room for this thing to strengthen even more as it closes in on the South Texas coast. And that is something to monitor very carefully, because as this thing comes inland, it is indeed likely to bring all the hazards that accompany a landfalling tropical cyclone. That would be wind, which could gust over 75 miles per hour, even on the beaches and some distance inland. That could bring down trees. You're going to want to sort of treat the worst part of the storm like a tornado warning. Move inland or into a shelter, into a building with as many walls between you and the outside as possible, away from windows. And of course, very heavy rain is going to be a significant issue going forward. And that is one of the things to contend with. Also storm surge, several feet of storm surge with water rises above normally dry ground. Send it back over to Mike Seidel in, let's see, where are you, Mike Seidel? You're in Port Aransas, Texas there, I know you are.
Exactly right, Dr. Postel. Here we are in Port Aransas. The water over the beach, high tide was a couple of hours ago, but we're still concerned about these bands just off the coast. That's going to bring in the real wind, the squally weather, and very heavy rainfall in the next hour or so here in Port Aransas. We've got continuing coverage on Hurricane Hanna, our first one of the season in the Atlantic Basin. Coverage throughout this afternoon and all evening.
When it's especially important to keep skin clean, keep reaching for Cetaphil. Recommended by dermatologists. Awarded by Allure. And most of all, loved by skin. Cetaphil, the cleanser sensitive skin loves.
Kids can change minds. They can even change the world around us. Packed with protein plus 21 vitamins and minerals, we nourish them with Carnation Breakfast Essentials. Because today could change everything.
Phil Swift here for Flex Paste, the incredible rubberized paste. Right out of the tub, it clings to the surface, and it instantly fills gaps and holes.
Flex Paste dries to a strong, flexible rubber, perfect for sealing RVs and campers. Use it to help prevent flood damage, stop rodents from getting in your home, or even crafts and hobbies. Get Flex Paste and the Flex Seal family of products at FlexSealProducts.com.
Motorcycle riders love the open road, and Geico loves helping riders get to where they're going. So to help even more, Geico is giving new and current customers a 15% credit on their motorcycle policies with the Geico Give Back. And because we're committed for the long haul, the credit lasts your whole policy term. The Geico Give Back, helping riders focus on the road ahead.
ProPlan Live Clear, a breakthrough, 10 years in the making, that reduces allergens in cat hair and dander. Outstanding nutrition with the power to change lives. This is Purina ProPlan Live Clear.
New Lean Cuisine Bowls with 20% more food for 20% more satisfaction. They're nutritious and delicious. New Lean Cuisine Bowls. Delicious your way.
The next time you buy something, look and ask, where was it made? At WeatherTech, we design, engineer, and manufacture right here in America. Now more than ever, we need to support American manufacturing and our economy. Buying anything made in America supports our own family of 330 million Americans. So, the next time you're purchasing something, look and ask, Where was it made? WeatherTech.com. Made right in America.
Summer is here. So it. Here are the rules for summer this year. Lays are preferred. Pants are optional. Backyards, bathtubs, and patios are always open. And snack time? Snack time is anytime. Recipes are better with Cheetos. Tostito salsa goes with everything. And bedtime? What's a bedtime? Yeah, summer rules. Frito-Lay. Let's summer.
Dangerous weather can happen anytime, anywhere. I'm FEMA Administrator Pete Gaynor, and all across the country, we are constantly working to make sure your communities have the resources they need to handle any weather emergency. Preparedness is a whole of government and community effort, but it begins with you.
Visit ready.gov to help you create an emergency plan for you and your family. Practice that plan and always stay alert for weather threats.
Be prepared by downloading the FEMA app now.
Disasters don't plan ahead, but you and your family can.
Welcome back to the Weather Channel. Weekend Recharge. We're tracking Hurricane Hanna now approaching the Texas coast. The first named hurricane of the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season, which is forecast to be above average year. We're living up to that so far. I'm Paul Goodlow, live in Corpus Christi, basically the island, North Padre Island here in Texas. I have a colleague, meteorologist Mike Seidel. He's up in Port Aransas, Texas. We have Dr. Greg Postel back in the lab. We even have Jennifer Lopez standing by in the studio as well. We have teams covering this, our first landfalling hurricane season here on the Texas coast. Look behind me. This is the Bob Hall Pier here, and you can see the wave action continues to push water all the way on shore here, even lapping at my feet here. And the pier is about a quarter-mile long. You can see the waves are breaking well past the end of that pier. And the last couple of days we were here, we've noticed a lot of people surfing. Noticed no one out here. A few people trying to get pictures and perhaps get the dogs out here, but not a safe place to be, as we still have these huge waves now crashing on shore, and we'll continue to see that as we head throughout the day. Again, this is not just going to be a Texas problem. We're going to see the impacts well into areas of Mexico, and what's falling from the clouds right now, the rain. That's going to be the long-lasting calling card for a bigger chunk of real estate off the coast. Yeah, we're going to have plenty of coastal concerns. We're seeing these dumpsters being upended. They used to have a lot of picnic benches here by the parking lots. Like dominoes, one by one, they have been destroyed as you head from north to south here along the beach. So we're kind of protected right now from the wind, because look how tall the dunes are. I'm 6'4.5", so these dunes are at least maybe 12, maybe 15 feet tall. We're kind of in this break between the dunes, so we're protected from the winds. But if I stand out there, you can see what the wind is doing to the waves. We're seeing sustained winds now in the 30s with gusts at times, even at the Naval Air Station, 47 miles per hour, and that's going to increase as we have some of the stronger winds, which are embedded in the heavier rain bands. If you take a look at the radar as it continues, Hanna continues to spiral, and now an 80-mile-per-hour hurricane approaching the coast. We're going to see some of the strongest winds with those heavy rain bands, and those are just now approaching the coast. So the weather will do nothing but go downhill here across the Texas coast, and being in the Corpus area, we can time this out. We're going to kind of spin this rain inland, and then it goes into a very vulnerable area in terms of flash flooding, and that's the Rio Grande Valley, known as basically the valley here to most Texans. And we could see perhaps double-digit rainfall in that area, and that could be devastating as we have a big push of water and big waves coming in to where I'm standing right now. So the big concern is not only coastal concerns, we definitely have that, some coastal erosion, coastal flooding. It's going to be the inland freshwater flooding. That has always been one of the most deadliest aspects of any landfalling system. And ironically, we know about inland freshwater flooding from even Hurricane Harvey. The last hurricane to approach this section of the coast actually made landfall in Mustang Island, which is about, say, 30, 40 miles north of me, before it hit communities like Portland and Rockport, devastated them with the surge and the strongest winds of that Category 3 hurricane, which rapidly strengthened, similar to Hanna, before landfall. We know Harvey really for the flooding it did in Houston, but we had major impacts along coastal communities here across the Corpus Christi area 3 years ago next month. But it is the rain which will continue to push inland and towards the valley that could be devastating, especially knowing that many communities there are being ravaged by the coronavirus as well. So then you have this natural disaster coming in as well as the coronavirus pandemic. So uncharted territory that we're visiting during this hurricane season, during a pandemic. We'll have more on that coming up. But right now, let's get more of the coastal impacts of Hanna and head up the island here to Port Aransas, where Mike Seidel is and has been all morning. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Paul. We're just north of you here on Mustang Island. We've gusted over 40 miles an hour, but what we're watching now is the radar, and this is the band we've been watching all morning. The outer bands have come through. We've had gusts around 40. We've had about a half an inch of rain, but you can see how close it is now till we get those stronger bands. The squally weather with wind gusts 50 or 60 miles an hour and that horizontal pelting rainfall. We've seen a noticeable increase certainly in the surf since yesterday when we were here. In fact, the whole beach was wide open yesterday at high tide. Charles Peak was up with his drone, and you get a sense of how much beach has been covered up. Now, I disclaimer this with the fact that the beach is level, fairly level here. There's no rise, so it doesn't take much water rise or surge to cover the whole beach, and it's all the way up into these breaks in these dunes at these hotels. This is the Port Aransas Beach Lodge. They're up there safely elevated. They didn't have any major issues with water with Harvey, and they won't this time. Although the water has gone all the way up to the bottom of their building there, they're in good shape from the surge perspective. Now, as far as the wind gusts, we could have some minor wind damage, but basically power outages. We could have some scattered power outages in the area. The water has been trying to go out. Low tide was about 2.5 hours ago. It's a little after 10 Central, but it's still pushing all the way up. In fact, the water is really higher now than it was at high tide at 7:34 this morning. That's telling you what's going on. Hanna intensifying, coming closer to the coast, and we're on the side where the wind comes around on the north side, and it's an onshore flow, not an offshore flow. So that's piling the water up, and as a result, this water is going nowhere as far as going out. Now, low tide officially is about 2:30 this afternoon, and that will help us at least a little bit. At least we're not getting landfall at high tide, although with the fact that the forward speed has slowed down, that means landfall is going to be later on this afternoon, and our next high tide is about 7:30 or 8 o'clock tonight. So getting buffeted by gusty winds, waiting for those squalls to come in, Dr. Postel, where we really get the worst of Hanna here in the Port Aransas area in Nueces County. Let's go back down to North Padre, just off the coast, across the bridge from Corpus. And Paul, I heard you mention wind gusts 47 miles an hour. Certainly, you're going to do better than that as we get into the next 4, 5, 6 hours.
We definitely are, and I'm constantly turning around to checking what's going on behind me, because you never want to turn your back that long on an angry body of water. And we're kind of tucked away in an area that doesn't see as much push of this water, but it is just devastating, these little picnic tables that were there. But also I want to draw your attention to the walkway leading up to the pier. Those are big, heavy concrete blocks, and they kind of line that ramp going up the pier, and several of them have been dislodged right now. So I don't know how many hundreds of pounds they are, but it's definitely impacted. Also, things like porta potties. I think up by Port Aransas, where I'm being told that there's some porta potties being kind of rolled around there. So I guess it's getting real. Stuff is getting real here along the coast. And another reason why you definitely want to limit your time out here. We did notice just a couple people out here, but again, I and my crew, we have shoes on that have non-penetrative soles. There's plenty of boards with nails and screws. You got to remember, this is a coastal community, so they try to nail things down, but Mother Nature says, yeah, we'll see about that. But there's a lot of debris. Oof, even a board flying through right here, which I can see has tons of nails on it. Oof. So basically, it's a washing machine of debris. Let me see if I can grab this piece of debris here and show you what I'm talking about. This thing, wow. Look at the nails on this. I think it's part of screws, part of the picnic tables, which have been tumbling like dominoes here. So imagine walking around here, getting your dog out here. Just saw a guy with a dog. You know, that would be a horrible accident. I mean, let alone we want to avoid unnecessarily visiting the hospitals these days because of the pandemic or urgent care, let alone trying to make sure the last time you had your tetanus shot. So yeah, this is why not only here at the coast, but even when we have the flooding inland, because it's not an if, but it's when we have the flooding inland, you also don't want to be waiting around in that stuff as well. So there's a lot of harm and danger out here. So I know it's attractive. I know a lot of people here are trying to vacation at the beach and perhaps never have lived through a hurricane. That's why we're here. Keep it to the Weather Channel. We'll take you through it. You can look it out the window, but we always have a safe place. We have safe equipment. We're prepared to ride this out. And it's going to get probably a lot worse before it gets better. Again, we're still hours away from landfall. Even here, we're not going to have the direct eye make landfall. That center point should be south of us, but we're going to be that right front quadrant. So again, we're talking about counterclockwise rotations of the winds. So Hanna will continue to push not only the winds, but the surge, the ocean, the Gulf onshore. So even though we're allegedly past high tide, the tide is going out, the water has done nothing but continue to stay high and even get higher as we have more wave action. So the good news is the tide should be going out as Hanna approaches, but eventually the tide shifts again, so we can see an even bigger push of water later on this afternoon. Locally here at the pier, low tide is around 2:30. I think it's a little bit earlier than that up towards Port Aransas, so tide times definitely change, but we're going to see the continued push of the water and the waves and the wind as we have more of the heavier rain bands. In fact, I noticed that the visibility is a little bit lower here, so we're getting closer to those darker colors on the radar, and that's where those strongest winds are. Again, we're protected by this dune. Out there is a different story. I'm going to bring in Dr. Greg Postel back in the lab here and talk about this, because when we first got here this week, Greg, Hanna was forecasted to just become a tropical storm, maybe 60, 65 miles per hour. Now it's a hurricane about to make landfall. Talk about what went into this thing strengthening.
Well, it had some room to breathe atmospherically. It was allowed to do that. There wasn't a whole lot of destructive interference from the atmosphere around it. A little bit, some northerly shear, but overall the winds aloft weren't that strong. The waters were warm, and this is a fairly robust circulation that moved in that allowed it to strengthen. So all those factors sort of gave it some room to do that. But I want to talk a little bit about the water rises right now, because if you were watching Paul, and I was kind of worried about him for a little bit, every once in a while you get this surge of water, this wave run up that would sort of attack him from the Gulf of Mexico. We're going to see conditions get a lot worse in terms of water rise. And here's why. Because we're now going toward low tide. The tide is going out. He said the low tide in Corpus was going to be around, let's say, 2 o'clock or 2:30 this afternoon. And we are right now dealing with an alongshore flow component, pretty much. Later on, the high tide comes at about 7 o'clock this evening. So when Hanna, let's say, moves roughly that way, it is roughly about 5, 6, 7 o'clock this evening when it will make landfall, and that's when the wind along the coast will turn to the onshore. That east wind component will begin to pick up as the high tide comes in. So these water rises are going to go way up, and the coastal flooding threat will go way up. Unfortunately, that strong onshore east wind will happen as that tide comes in. So that is not something to look forward to, and anybody out there, please be mindful of that. For normally dry ground, we'll be underwater by several feet easily as Hanna comes on shore. Paul, be very careful out there as well as everybody else. Here's the latest advisory Hanna, 80 miles per hour, slow uptick in the strength, still not a whole lot of room for this to develop. When you look at some of the interior components and structure of Hanna, it doesn't seem like it's ready to strengthen quickly. It may go up a little bit more, but thankfully it doesn't look like one of those high-end events, wind-wise at least, coming in to Texas. But that doesn't mean we're going to have not a lot of bad effects from the rain and the storm surge, which is definitely going to be very significant later on this evening. Right now, here's a couple of spots of some winds. Those are the fastest ones that I could find anywhere here closing in. We're seeing wind gusts in the 40 to 50 mile per hour range, but really don't expect the winds to go up a whole lot in the next hour or two. Maybe as this band of yellow here with some heavier rain comes in, the gusts will uptick a little bit. The core of the strongest wind will happen here as that wind becomes more of an onshore threat coming in off the Gulf of Mexico. So that will happen at or probably even just after landfall, that those hurricane force winds in excess of 75 miles per hour are most likely from generally Corpus Christi on southward from there. But it's not just South Texas. I also want to mention areas up the coast here, and we're seeing some rain showers move in, some gusty winds of 30 to 40 miles per hour indeed possible, with a tornado risk with these outer bands of Hanna as they move in. And if that weren't enough, look, coastal Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama also getting in on some of the action from Hanna with some showers and gusty winds moving on board from the Gulf of Mexico. But once again, there's the center of circulation. It is when the wind comes around from the east and comes in onshore, Paul, that's when you're going to see your significant water rise and that wind increase. That won't happen likely until later on this afternoon. Paul.
Yeah, and that's the big concern here, is because people think, oh, it's low tide, the tide's going out, and it's amazing that the water really isn't, and it's coming even higher and higher as we head throughout the afternoon. But this is not just a story here in Texas. This is also an international story because, again, Mother Nature doesn't recognize borders at all. So a wall's not going to stop the water and the impacts of Hanna to go across Mexico. And here's a live look at Monterrey, Mexico, and we have a lot of communities there on the border which are not going to do very well with flash flooding. We're talking 6 to 12 inches of rain with this system and some winds to boot. So it's going to be a big concern. Let's talk about the timing of this, because Dr. Postel mentioned we still have landfall later on this afternoon here in the Texas coast, which means we're going to see a lot more heavy rain spiral in here with the strongest winds in those heavy rain bands. And this continues throughout the day and even overnight as well. Heads up in the valley area, this could be a flash flood emergency as we head overnight tonight.
Parents have a way of imagining the worst, especially when your easily distracted teenager has the car. At Subaru, we're taking on distracted driving with sensors that alert you when your eyes are off the road. The Subaru Forester, the safest Forester ever.
At Southern New Hampshire University, we're committed to making college more accessible by making it more affordable. That's why we're keeping our tuition the same through the year 2021.
I knew SNHU was the place for me when I saw how affordable it was. I ran to my husband with my computer and I said, look, we can do this.
Take advantage of some of the lowest online tuition rates in the nation. Find your degree at snhu.edu.
There's nothing as unique as our eyes, which is why Essilor pioneers ways to make lenses as unique as you. Verilux for super sharp vision, Essential Blue for protection, and Crizal for freedom from glare. 3 cutting-edge solutions in a single unique lens. So whatever your needs, insist on Essilor. Visit your local Essilor experts and find the perfect lens for you. See more, do more, Essilor.
What will you do when the power goes out? Power outages can be unpredictable, inconvenient, and disruptive to your life. But with a Generac home standby generator, your life goes on, uninterrupted, because you'll have power when you need it the most.
24 days we were without power. I had water, I had ice, I had coffee, I had air conditioner. I was able to stay here because of the Generac.
Get the safety, security, and peace of mind your family deserves with a home standby generator from Generac. 8 out of 10 home generators are Generac, with thousands of satisfied customers.
Very good product. Very, very good reviews from everybody.
Prices start at just $19.99. And special financing is available with surprisingly affordable monthly payments. Call now to schedule your free in-home assessment, and you'll receive a 7-year extended warranty absolutely free. That's a $695 value. Call or go online today. Power your life with Generac.
My patients, I often see them have teeth sensitivity as well as gum issues. Does it worry me? Absolutely. They are both very much hand in hand, so you should really be focusing on both, and definitely at the same time. The new Sensodyne Sensitivity and Gum gives us a dual action effect that really takes care of both our teeth sensitivity as well as our gum issues. By brushing with Sensodyne Sensitivity and Gum at home, it's giving you...
Come see why more landscape pros trust MAE power equipment and Exmark zero-turn mowers. And right now, when you buy a laser or radius mower, you'll get a free set of blades, Exmark ball cap, and free break-in oil change. MAE power equipment in Mission.
Whether they learn about science in a classroom or a kitchen, if recess happens in a schoolyard or a backyard, or lunch is enjoyed in a cafeteria with classmates or on a computer with friends, it all starts here at H-E-B, where you'll find the school supplies kids want and the lunch supplies and snacks they love, all at low prices. So wherever it happens, start your school year here.
Come see why more landscape pros trust MAE power equipment and Exmark zero-turn mowers. And right now, when you buy a laser or radius mower, you'll get a free set of blades, Exmark ball cap, and free break-in oil change. MAE power equipment in Mission.
100% money-back guarantee plus free shipping. Go to hurricane.com. That's hurricane.com. Also available at these fine retailers.
Whoever said our planet had to explain itself. Explore the strange phenomena of our weird Earth. Sunday nights on the Weather Channel.
A tropical storm warning is in effect. Currently in our area, 79 degrees with light rain. Today, windy with thunderstorms, high 85. Chance of rain, 80%. Tonight, tropical storm conditions likely, windy with heavy thunderstorms, low 76. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Welcome back to Weekend Recharge. Still tracking Hurricane Hanna approaching the Texas coast. I'm meteorologist Paul Gridlow. We've gotten onto Bob Hall Pier very carefully and take a look at the wave action here. Huge waves, talking maybe 6 to 8 foot waves now breaking here. And many of the waves are breaking well past the pier, but still many are rolling in as well. This is a very angry Gulf of Mexico, and the worst is yet to come. So we decided to get out here while we can, while it's safe. But you can see huge waves now forming with the big push of Hanna. And again, we're going to be north of the center as it makes landfall, which is going to be some of the roughest part. I mean, look, this wave here is actually hitting the bottom of the pier. My goodness. So we're talking probably at least maybe 8 to 10 feet of normal water distance between the bottom of the pier and the Gulf here. And we're seeing waves crashing to the bottom of the pier. Wow. Compared to what we noticed the last 2 days here, this is huge, and we even have larger waves on the way in here. A storm surge warning in this area. Expect a water rise of about 3 to 5 feet. You can definitely have some coastal concerns, and the water continues to come up despite the fact that the tide is officially heading past low tide. So the tide should be coming or heading towards low tide. So we should be seeing the water decrease, but not because of Hanna now pushing these waves, actually now crashing on the side of the pier. So again, I think our time here is limited to minutes in terms of safely getting back off this pier. And coming up, as we leave the pier, I'm going to show you these huge concrete slabs which make the run up to the pier. I don't know how many hundreds of pounds these things weigh, but many of them have been tossed aside because of the power of that water coming up under the pier here. So we're still dealing with the onslaught. Again, we're hours away from landfall, but being in the right front quadrant, we're going to see enhanced impacts here along the coast. But do not let your guard down. This is not only a coastal system, this is going to be an inland threat as well. We're definitely concerned about the heavy rain coming inland, as well as down towards the Rio Grande Valley, places like McAllen, Harlingen. We could see double-digit rainfall here, as well as into Monterrey, Mexico, and that could be devastating to hundreds of thousands of people on both sides of the border. So definitely a concern even off the coast. So we're going to be definitely concern ourselves with the long-term impacts as I watch yet another wave crashing underneath the Bob Hall Pier as it rolls on towards the coast. Let's go up the coast now and check in with Mike Seidel. He's in Port Aransas, also dealing with a pretty angry Gulf of Mexico. And Mike, you're saying that you normally have, what, tens of yards of normal dry sand, but not on a day like today.
This is your quintessential bad beach day. Rip currents, the surf taking over the entire beach here in Port Aransas. We got out here around 4:30 this morning, and it was already up to here. We had high tide at 7:30-ish, and the water has not really receded. In fact, it continues to surge into this little, isthmus, this area where you can walk up to the beach lodge. The porta potties, this set of porta potties has ended up here. We've got a pop-up tent, which has been ripped to shreds, and a trash can. So all of this has come up in this area, and much the same up and down the beach. So the water goes out for a little bit, and you can actually see the sand, but then another surge of the surf will come on in. We've had gusts over 40 miles an hour, but look at the radar just off the coast. And just edging in now to Nueces County, Mustang Island, down from Matagorda Island here to where we are in Port Aransas. Those are the stronger bands, those brighter colors on the radar, and that's where we could get wind gusts in excess of 50, certainly 60 miles an hour, along with very heavy rainfall. Right now, we've not even had our first inch of rain. Last time I checked, before the internet went out, was about half an inch to 6/10 of an inch of rainfall. So here comes the water, and that is causing some beach erosion. You can see some of the cuts over here in the dune there. So we're losing a little bit of these huge dunes. No concern with any of the salt water getting into any properties here in Port Aransas. It may be some fresh water flash flooding inland, and again, with the wind, there could be some power outages. But that seems to be the kind of the worst of it, what we're expecting here, since we are going to be well north of where the center comes on shore. Let's go back to Dr. Postel. We've got to check in on the Pacific, the East Pac, and Hurricane Douglas and its trek towards Hawaii. Dr. Postel?
Yeah, it looks like later on tomorrow we may be seeing the effects of Douglas on the Hawaiian Islands as it steadily moves in that direction. 105 miles per hour, Category 2. We are dealing with this circulation right here. Thankfully, it is much weaker, Douglas is, than it was a couple of days ago. It is on a weakening trend that will continue along its way toward the island. So there will be some impacts, but not the significant ones that maybe we could have expected a couple of days ago with a much stronger storm. But thankfully, the atmosphere and the ocean are combining in a way to allow this thing to continue to weaken and probably be a, well, maybe tropical storm as it slides, for the most part, on the northern edge of the Hawaiian Islands, and maybe Honolulu in the parts of the islands will get scraped with some gusty winds and some showers as well. But the big story, of course, is Hurricane Hanna and its close approach now to the South Texas coast. We're going to have much more on this coming up at the bottom of the hour. You're going to want to stay tuned to that. We'll have live coverage all day long that you can trust on the landfall, eventual landfall of Hurricane Hanna.
Experience the adventure of a bigger world in a highly capable Lexus SUV at the Golden Opportunity Sales Event.
Get 0% financing on all 2020 Lexus models.
Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
Presenting Down There Care with Cottonelle. Down there, because you're living the dream, but your schedule is a nightmare. And while you start your day with freshness and spades, as the hours pass, that freshness fades. So on all the work days, play days, and days that end in day, freshen up with the cleaning ripples of Cottonelle toilet paper and flushable wipes. The refreshingly clean routine that leaves you feeling, amazing. Care. Don't just wipe. Down there care with Cottonelle.
Since you're heading off to school, I got you this Brita.
Dad, I just got a Zero Water.
But we always use Brita.
Its 2-stage filter doesn't compare to Zero Water's 5-stage. This meter shows how much stuff or dissolved solids gets left behind. Our tap water is 220.
Ooh.
Brita is 110.
Seriously?
But Zero Water...
Let me guess. 0?
Yep, that's how I know that it is the purest tasting water.
I need to find the receipt for that.
Oh yeah, you do.
If something happened to you, what would happen to them? Their home, their education, their future. You need life insurance, and chances are SelectQuote can help you get it for less than $1 a day.
SelectQuote found Jacob 40, a $500,000 policy for only $19 a month. And SelectQuote found his wife Wendy, a $500,000 policy for only $17 a month.
Our secret? At SelectQuote, we aggressively comparison shop highly rated companies to find you the company with the best rates.
We found Gary, 35, a $1 million policy for only $22 a month.
Why pay more? Give your family the security they need at a price you can afford.
Call 1-800-304-3321 or go to SelectQuote.com now and get the insurance your family needs.
At a price you can afford. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
Hi, Phil Swift here. This storm season, you need the entire Flex Seal family of products. Seal up cracks and holes to prevent wind and water from damaging your home. Push Flex Base deep into wet surfaces to help prevent flood damage. Severe storms can be a nightmare. Now you can patch huge holes to seal up roof leaks. Get the Flex Seal family of products at these fine retailers.
At Physicians Mutual, we know that planning for retirement can feel scary.
Heard you're retiring soon. My husband just retired. Figuring out how to stay covered was a real doozy.
Hey, look, Leonard's premiums are showing.
He doesn't even have a Medigap.
What did I say to your mom?
Anyways, we found Physicians Mutual. They made it really easy.
I'll give him a call. Retire with confidence. We'll listen and find you the coverage you need.
Physicians Mutual, Physicians Mutual.
New lean cuisine bowls with 20% more food for 20% more satisfaction. They're nutritious and delicious. New lean cuisine bowls. Delicious your way.
Welcome back to Weekend Recharge. We're tracking Hurricane Hanna approaching the Texas coast. Here's a live look at North Padre Island. Angry waves that are still lashing the coastline here, and this is as the tide is going out. Water's not really receding much. Waves are actually increasing, and we still have hours away before we see a lot even higher waves in the landfall. The biggest push of water. Again, low tide around 2:30 this afternoon, and expect a huge surge as the tide comes back in after that. Let's go a little farther south on Padre Island. It's about 118